welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live once again. It is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. And what a morning. We've got ourselves a hype train and the Mamdani meltdown continues. Can I turn red again? No, I cannot. We have a few really important stories. The fuck is going on with my control center? Hello? Stop? What the fuck? The fuck? There we go. I'm more of an instrumental jazz kind of guy in the morning. That was aggressive. Oh. I humbly offer an emote I made. Cuomo caught. Honestly, and I mean this is inspired, but it's also a little bit late. You know what I mean? Like, when are we ever going to mention Cuomo again? You know, I'll do it because I have slots, but it's just like, it's like talented, but it's ill-timed. Really ill-timed. That's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. I'll add it just because I appreciate you, but... All right, well, what do we have today, chat? We have the continuing Mamdani meltdown. Everybody from the center left all the way to the far right and internationally losing their fucking minds. Hassan was on Sean Hannity yesterday. Yeah, Hassan is the big boogeyman. Now that Mamdani has won, Hassan is going to be the boogeyman. Hassan is now going to be the boogeyman of all mainstream political figures, left and right. Do you condemn Hassan Piker is now going to be part of our political discourse from now on. And obviously it won't work because Hassan is incredibly normal and attractive to normal people when you actually go and watch him. And so, you know, this isn't Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes fundamentally has a very small ceiling. Maybe he could get the 30% right-wing fascists that are in our country that would vote for Attila the Hun. He's capped. Whereas our politics, left-wing politics, our cap is probably somewhere around 65%. So the more they promote Hassan, the better. You know, like, it is really, really good for us. And the reason why I say fascism has a cap is, what are they going to do? Argue it against women voting? You think that's going to be popular? The Heritage Foundation is imploding because of Fuentes. Yeah, because he's a fucking Nazi. New on CNN, inside the absolute shit show at the Heritage Foundation, where staff are in open revolt, a major donor bailing, and resurfaced deleted tweets from Kevin Roberts show him praising Pence and seemingly bashing Trump on January 6th. Amazing. I told my very pro AOC sister she could be president on a phone call yesterday, and she was shocked and immediately double-checked voter and Democratic primary registration. Of course why wouldn't she be able to be president? What's wrong? Of course she could. Zohran Mamdani is going to start a 501c4 called Our Time for the purpose of mobilizing supporters to pass his agenda. Seems to me, chat, that we don't have ourselves a regular Democrat like so many worthless morons said we did. Sounds to me like we have a leader. Also, chat, Zohran is hiring. So if you have any kind of experience, or even if you don't have experience, I definitely consider putting your best foot forward and chucking a resume his way. Our new resume portal is live, and we're looking for top talent in New York City to help build this administration and deliver on our affordability agenda. Could that be you? Apply using the link below. Transition 2025. Apply. So is it for New York only? Why would it be? You're applying for a job. New Jersey resident just submitted my application to his team saying I left because I couldn't afford NYC. I'll move back tomorrow to work with you. Exactly. To make sure, if you're interested, throw in a resume. What's the worst that could happen? You don't get hired? That's what's going to happen if you do nothing. Could Europeans donate to his 501c4 to help Zohran? Honestly, that's a very good question. I'm not sure about that. I don't think I could give you that guidance. It's something you're going to have to do. Wait, what's this?
Sanders' own successful turn as the pragmatic sewer socialist mayor of the somewhat smaller city of Burlington, Vermont. I think that's the best case for his long-term.
Ross Douthat is the worst kind of right-wing figure because he actually is a well-read one, right? Like, sewer socialism, well, no, he's right. God, you guys are literally less well-read than Ross Douthat. He's right. He's right. God damn, some of you motherfuckers do not listen to Michael from Pennsylvania at all, for the record, okay? But he isn't wrong about this analysis.
Chat, be like Hassan. Listen to Michael from Pennsylvania. If you're like, what the fuck is sewer socialism? I never heard of that shit. How many of you have never heard of that shit? Well, I'm going to ask this question later as well. This is for the early waker-uppers. You're in the first half an hour of the stream, so you guys are the real ones. Me, you fucking fake Mike from PA fans. You motherfucking fakes. You're fucking caught. I had a video about sewer socialism 4 years ago. Socialism 101, sewer socialism and regionalism. Not just compromising, urban planning for the left. Zoran and Mike were right about sewer socialism. Chris Hayes talks about sewer. This is Mike from PA's core knowledge. How the fuck did you not know about that? Sewer socialism is based and originated in Wisconsin, primarily won trust by expanding municipal services like sewers. No, it wasn't just sewers. It was ultras made fun of them and called them sewer socialists because, you know, back then nobody had sewers. And then they built them. And ultras were like, oh, these people, we want a revolution and destroy capitalism. But all these guys are doing is making their city really nice. And they called them sewer socialists to make fun of them. But back then, no one had fucking sewers. So they were like, you're goddamn right we are. We do build sewers. We are the ones who make people's lives better. And it was led by, you know who referenced Eugene Debs? You know how Zoran referenced Eugene Debs yesterday? Well, Eugene's Debs vice president candidate was Victor Berger, the ultimate sewer socialist. Let me see if I can find the ticket. I think it was the 1921. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. Let me just search Victor Berger. It's possible I misremembered, but I think I'm right. Huh, maybe not. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just, maybe Victor Berger was just the first socialist congressman. Could have sworn he was on a ticket with them, but maybe not. OpenAI is asking for U.S. government to guarantee its debt. This clip? Oh no.
Is how can the company with 13 billion in revenues make 1.4 trillion of spend commitments? And you've heard the criticism,
First
Sam.
of all, we're doing well more revenue than that. Second of all, Brad, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. I just, people are. I think there's a lot of people who would love to buy OpenAI shares. I don't.
That is the most bubble ass shit I ever heard in my goddamn life. That is the most bubble ass shit I ever heard in my goddamn life. This is part of the reason why China is going to win. What's your best rec for a book about the history of the U.S. left? Oh, that's a really good question. Although, I will give you an answer because it's a friend of mine. Ryan Grimm has a book called We've Got People, which explains the left from Jesse Jackson's campaign to now, or to at least to like 2016, 2020. I recommend you read that because most leftists have no idea what they're talking about the left, and they just say random shit they saw. It was Emil Seidel. Yeah, you're right. China will win AI race with US. Thank you for the headline behind a paywall.
I don't think you
including myself. Including myself.
People who talk with a lot of like breathless concern about our compute stuff or whatever that would be thrilled to buy shares. So I think we could sell, your shares or anybody else's to some of the people who are making the most noise on Twitter, whatever, about this very quickly. We do plan for revenue to grow steeply. Revenue is growing steeply. We are taking a forward bet that it's going to continue to grow, and that not only
including taxes and operating costs, the benchmark rent for a subsidized apartment is nearly the same. When we study how people live, we can determine that Vienna is a city of tenants. Over 3/4 of Vienna's population rent accommodation, with only around 20% living in flats or houses that they own.
And the reason why is because why the fuck do you want to own a house? It's not commodified. It's not an investment. You're not going to make a return. Rents are controlled. The government builds high quality housing. Rents stay cheap. And if you want to stay in your place, you get to stay in your place. That's the difference. So that's 2. Rent control works. Early childhood education, that works. The last one is fast and free buses. This is the richest country in the world. Making buses free would cost $700 million. We just spent $40 billion rescuing Argentina. I think the richest city and the richest country in the world can afford a $700 million cost. That's not that expensive. So there you go. Free buses, easy. Like every single one of those things can be done. All right, sorry for getting off on a tangent, but I was watching the Palantir Idiot and it's embarrassing.
They asked, does it work in theory? The theoreticians.
Mike, is it accurate to describe the liberal argument of building luxury apartments to address the housing problem as trickle-down economics? Libs tell people will transfer from poor neighborhoods to luxury apartments, making more affordable housing available to working poor. But this sounds like trickle-down housing to me. It is trickle-down housing. There is a small amount of truth to it in the sense of building luxury housing is better than not building anything at all. Do you know what's better than both? Actually building affordable housing directly using the government. That's what makes Vienna work. You can't say that, Jay. You can't say that, obviously,
you have
bro.
To ask,
what are you doing?
How often have you been right? And Palantir is about pragmatic decisions that create unfair advantages for America and its allies. And on that, we've been right for almost 20 years on all major decisions. And I believe we'll be right going forward. Now, you could argue, I don't know, like they're constantly like, but they thought Palantir was overvalued at 10. They thought it was overvalued at 20. I'm not even here saying what the valuation is. I'm just saying find a company in the world that has a rule of 114, that has U.S. commercial growing at 121%, that aggregate growth in the U.S. is 77%, that has throwing off free cash flow in a way that's anomalous, and that is fully aligned with our customers. And you figure out the value, but they're in the business of being skeptical and being wrong, and we're in the business of giving an unfair advantage to American workers, American warfighters, and our investors.
Being short is a very difficult place to be because you can lose everything, right? You can drive these people into the ground.
Thank God.
Like Michael Burry put a really big bet on it. It's almost $1 billion. It's $912 million. That's a big step for him to put into that. When you say you redouble your efforts, what do you do? What do you go back in?
Well, first of all, it's like he's actually putting a short on AI. So the way I read it was us and NVIDIA, and it's like
he's the biggest position is you, though.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through all of it.
Okay. So, and then, by the way, with the shorts, it's very complex. It's not even clear that, honestly, I think what is going on here is market manipulation. We delivered the best results anyone's ever seen. It's not even clear he's not doing this to get out of his position. I mean, these people, they claim to be ethical, but, like they're actually shorting one of the great businesses of the world. And I'm not against shorting as a matter of theory, but I'm just saying pick something that is not doing a noble task. And, it's us against them, and that's a good position for us. I mean, look, when you're printing a rule of 114, again, people who aren't technical, I think roughly an incredible score, like an Olympic grade score on rule of 14 is like 50. I mean, that's roughly like if you're between 50 and 7, you're an Olympic athlete, a unique implement athlete. This is like Michael Phelps-like score, like Michael Jordan. Like there are no scores like this. And 121 growth off of almost a 1.5 run rate in U.S. commercial, and a 77% growth in the U.S., and an aggregate off of an aggregate base of $4.5 billion. By the way, I predicted we'd get here. It's like if you want to short that, be my guest. You go ahead. We're just going to go do our things. I mean, look, I'll tell you, there's a tale of two cities in our society. We need experts versus retail, and you see it.
So in other words, this guy is just going on CNBC to pump his stock. It's not based on anything. Like, this is crazy, dude. Like, I almost feel like he's inducing us to short, right? Like, it's almost like he seems so stupid. I almost feel like I'm being tricked by shorting.
I don't know why these newspapers are helping Mamdani win. I don't know why we can't have honest discussions about our future. I don't know why we have to allow fentanyl attack. But it's almost always sympathy for the expert that doesn't need it, the short seller that has some ridiculous reason for doing something against most of GDP growth in this country is because of AI. The real question is, how do we grow that and expose workers? What is the worker available GDP? That's the question for our society. Instead of a...
Oh, my God. After he got off, it dropped 10 points. That was earlier this morning. When investors saw him, his stock has dropped 4%. It was up for the day.
Lining on that, we've got these completely. And again, if the numbers weren't there, great, be my guest. But then the numbers are there. So then you're not. It's not even clear he's actually shorting us. It's probably just how do I get my position out and not look like a fool? I don't know, but I do think this behavior is egregious, and I'm going to be dancing around when it's proven wrong.
Alex, we've heard
that wasn't an answer in any way.
A lot of talk from the likes of a Michael Burry, but more broadly about whether we're in an AI bubble, whether the economics make sense. Clearly, in the context of Palantir, they do make sense insofar as you're printing money over there. Not everybody in the AI space is printing money in the same.
Palantir is just like Oracle. It's literally just the United States intelligence services forcing it into every major corporation. That's what it is. Now, I don't know if you want to bet against the CIA. It's usually a bad idea, especially if you're in America. You know, like that's the thing that I'm concerned, because money's fake and they could just move it around at will.
Same way, and they're spending an enormous amount on chips, data centers, and the like. How do you see the broader space right now in terms of just how things are developing?
There are two subtle issues in AI. What is the addressable market, and what is the addressable market for things that work? Meaning you make more money and the quality of the money is higher. So top line and bottom line grow. Palantir, we're in the business of a part of the addressable market where it works and it can be quantifiable, either commercially or on the battlefield. So clearly, and over time, you're going to have Pareto optimality, meaning every part of the stack is going to have to create more value than they charge. That's just obvious. And if that doesn't happen, it will be a bubble. And, you know, I mean, I'm sorry, short sellers can't tell the difference between products that work and products that don't. But these numbers should show you that there's a part of the market that, to quote you, is printing cash. And it looks like that part of the market is the part we own. There's a separate question, by the way, which I think is equally relevant. What part of the GDP growth is available for workers? What we call worker available GDP. One of the unique things about Palantir is whether it's on the battlefield, like the people writing the scripts for these very complicated operations, or building batteries or doing things on the factory floor, are being enhanced by our product. And those two, it's really those two questions are going to define arguably the future of what happens in this country. Does GDP grow because of AI, which only can happen if there's Pareto optimality? And what the way we see it, the customer pays less than the value they create, which is abnormal, not exactly equal Pareto optimality. And that, it's unknown, honestly. You have this massive growth, but, you know, currently, as far as I can tell, the two companies he's shorting are the ones making all the money, which is super weird. Like, the idea that chips and ontology is what you want to short. Batshit crazy.
Look at these three headlines. S&P 500 falls as AI stocks resume their slide. Job cuts in October hit highest level in month for 22 years, Challenger says. Target's sloppier stores are wearing on shoppers, and its turnaround could hinge on cleaning them up. You know what? I've been to Target lately, and they have been fucking dingy. I remember when you would go to Target, and it was like the classed up Walmart. Walmart for women with Stanley cups, you know what I mean? Now it's going the way of Sears or Kmart. You know what I mean? Like, Target has really fallen off. Yes. Pareto optimality. This is basically Econ 101 shit. Okay, maybe this is Econ 201. Pareto efficiency formulates the idea of an outcome being better in every possible way. A change is called a Pareto improvement if it leaves at least one person in society better off without leaving anyone else worse off than they were before. A Pareto efficient or optimal is all possible Pareto improvements have already been made. In other words, there's no longer any ways left to make one person better off without making some other person worse off. This is the concept of the win-win. Now, I argue that there's a lot of things we could do in our society that will make us all better off, but many of them involve making some people worse off. Now, when I say worse off, I'm talking about a billionaire. I don't think that Elon Musk going from $500 billion in wealth to $999 million in wealth actually makes him worse off in any important or appreciable way. But we'll have $499 billion to play with, 350 million people's lives better. Chat, give to Mike enough and he'll give us a hot tub stream. That's a win-win. Yeah, that's true. All right, chat, let's keep going. Jesus fucking Christ. Making fun of Sean Hannity.
Take a look.
We are in the heart of the imperial core. This is the country that defeated the USSR, unfortunately. And the reality of the matter is, there's a lot of antagonism. There's no class consciousness in the United States of America.
But now socialist is not a dirty word anymore.
What do you say?
Socialist is not a dirty word anymore.
Well, that's why they jumped to communists, right? You gotta be communist.
Yeah, you
socialist. They immediately jumped to communist. Socialist is not a dirty word anymore. Democrats, listen. listen up. Take some lessons.
Americans have no culture except for multiculturalism. Well said. And we need to teach people how to embrace that. These crusty white people need to learn how to embrace it.
Here's a pretty easy prediction. New York City's in big trouble. The good news for New Yorkers, America is a big country. If New York implodes, you can always leave. Leave your politics back there. Only thing people ask. In fact,
the one thing I would say is, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but they did the whole, like, I'm leaving LA, I'm going to Texas. And you know what happened? Everybody's leaving Texas because they're like, wow, this sucks. Actually, living in Republican areas, living in right-wing areas fucking sucks. So they're leaving again. That's why Austin housing prices are crashing, because everybody's like, you know, now that there's not a pandemic anymore, and I want to be around people, Austin sucks. This FDNY commissioner drives a Lambo, by the way. Wonder how they got that. Corruption.
the Jewish FDNY commissioner has already resigned. The bad news, Democrats like Mamdani are picking up traction elsewhere in the country, in elections around the country, because, well, you know, it won't be Republican versus Democrat anymore. But, you know, it's going to be normal Americans versus the radical extreme communists who want to.
By the way, chat, look at that. Suddenly the Uniparty, Zohra Mamdani winning, exposes that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are doing kabuki theater. It's all fake. The Democratic Party was fake opposition. And here's something I want to show you, chat. Mamdani was outspent 7-1. Mamdani was outspent 7-1. And he kicked their fucking ass.
And the country as we know it. Here now with more. House Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker Johnson, your reaction to last night, first and foremost.
Sean, I think you hit the nail right on the head. This is not a bellwether of things to come. We can still stand for America's founding principles. That's what the Republican Party is doing. As you said, blue states and blue cities went blue. That was no surprise to anyone. But I do think it is alarming. Mamdani is now effectively the leader of the Democrat Party, and it is affecting the strategy of the Democrats on Capitol Hill. We have been saying since the beginning, since the shutdown began, which is now the largest one in U.S. history, 36 days of this now, that the reason for it was because you had Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the two leaders in the Senate and the House, the Democrats, the top Democrats in Washington, who are from New York.
Will ChatGPT keep growing? But
I like Howard Zinn.
We will be able to become one of the important AI clouds, that our consumer device business will be a significant and important thing, that AI that can automate science will create huge value.
AI that can automate science. Automate science, guys. OpenAI is requesting financial support from U.S. government for its expansion per Bloomberg. OpenAI wants taxpayers to guarantee its debt. They're asking the government to guarantee loans like a cosigner. When private companies start asking for public funds, it's a sign the bubble will soon pop. Also, the idea that we should guarantee this debt is fucking insane. Notice that they're not going to do this to pay for your college or high-speed rail or healthcare. Nah. That's socialism. But guaranteeing OpenAI's, gambling, that's good. The guy from the Big Short movie who correctly predicted the world financial crisis has placed a $1 billion bet against Nvidia. Oh my lord. That's Michael Burry really did? He bought put options too? One wag on X put in a reply to Burry's latest warning. You've called 9 of the last 1 bubbles. Ouch. I mean, I'm sorry, but I still haven't seen the value from the AI like that people talk about.
Palantir reporting third quarter results above expectations in a big way. The company issued better than expected fourth quarter guidance. Shares down in the pre-market this morning. We'll talk about that as well. But joining us right now is somebody we've been talking about, frankly, all morning. Alex Karp is with us, Palantir's CEO. Alex, it is so good to see you this morning. We had your biographer on the broadcast before, and we're speaking about you now in third person, but now we're doing it in first person. The earnings were a blowout, I think, across the board. We can talk about maybe why the stock market reacting the way it is. But, you know, I was listening to the call yesterday, and I wanted to, just for those who didn't get an opportunity to hear it, I think you made some fascinating points about why you think this company and maybe even yourself are so misunderstood.
Well, there are lots of easy ways to misunderstand me. I misunderstand myself, and, you know, it's not like the super conventional playbook thing. Look, we're an anti-playbook company. If you want to do the personal version, I'm like this dyslexic, formerly, and I believe currently still left of center, who actually sticks up for progressive values, which triggers, TDS loving people, because I think the Democrats aren't no longer progressive. The company is built in a truly sui generis, unique way, which would only be possible in America, and actually explode.
I mean, is there ever been more baffling with bullshit that you've ever heard in your life? It's only possible in America to build a panopticon that is like got root access to everyone's internet.
It's every assumption of how an expert would build a software business. The more you actually know about building software, the more odd, unique, and inexplicable our rise in success, and I would say domination on the enterprise software.
Yeah, because it's not about your skill in making software. It's about your CIA connections and your national security connections forcing you down everyone's throat at the end of a gun.
Battlefield looks and is. And then I would say one of my main issues is Palantir, because we were we called a lot of things that are kind of establishment views that often are viewed as kind of being super woke into question in every single assumption of Palantir. The people who piled in to Palantir were people investing their own money, often people who are not in the investor class, non-experts. And even till today, the experts sit on the sideline and say, hey, this can't be true, while the average American who invested in Palantir, and for the first time, maybe arguably since World War II, average Americans got venture returns investing in Palantir. So you have this massive divide between the average person who evaluates.
Okay, so in other words, like, have you noticed that these guys just talk about their stock going up, but that's it? They just say, my stock went up. Don't you feel FOMO? Don't you feel FOMO? This is fucking swindler shit.
Evaluated themselves, and the expert class that still was working on assumptions that have historically not been true, that obviously, if you look at the earnings, if you actually look at, we grew the company, I mean, I'll go through if you want to go through the numbers, but extraordinary results. Yep. And then the expert class is weak need, and the retail people are all in. In fairness,
but that's what I wanted to ask you about. Yeah. In terms of because there is a misunderstanding. Clearly, you look at the analysts. Most analysts, think that this stock is overpriced. You have people like Michael Burry out there shorting it. Everybody who's shorted this stock thus far has been on the losing end of it. And I'm trying to understand, just if you look at sort of the growth trajectory, the sales, how much of the sales, frankly, I think actually even there was a huge part coming from even existing customers, and just what the scale of this thing ultimately looks like in your mind.
Okay, there are two parts. Of course, when I hear short sellers attacking what I believe is clearly the most important software company in America, and therefore in the world in terms of our impact, simply to make money, and trying to call the AI revolution into question, where we have this anomalous numbers, 114, rule of 40, et cetera. It just is super triggering, because these people, they could pick on any company in the world. They have to pick on the one that actually helps people, that actually has made money for the average person, that is actually supporting our war.
These guys are such charlatans. They're such charlatans. Also, if you bought Palantir and made millions, you're not the average person anymore. It's kind of like average person, what that means.
Fighters, why do they have to go after us? And I'll tell you what, it's crazy motivating, because I'll tell you why the short sellers are constantly getting screwed by Palantir. Because every time they short us, we just are like tripling down on getting the better numbers, and part, honestly, to make them poorer. But okay, the question of the actual power of the business and what is it worth. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things that is actually in the book, the biography, and that I actually think you always have to ask is the person persuasive or are they right? And across all sorts of movements, political, I mean, you see this on the regressive part of the Democratic Party. We're about to probably have a complete disaster. I was born in New York. But if you actually said, do these things actually work? Everyone's like, of course I'm not going to vote for that. But instead.
Wait. Does subsidized childcare work? Let's use the AI response, because we're looking at an AI guy. Sweden's childcare system is universal, publicly subsidized system that starts at age 1 with a low income-based fee. It's $135 a month. It includes publicly funded preschools and a curriculum that aims to support child development and allow parents to work. More than 90% of children aged 18 months to 5 years attend, averaging 33 hours per week. All children are entitled. This is the AI, guys, the AI. He's saying this can't work. Universal child care. He says it can't work. Well, I'm reading your AI system and it seems like it's working fine. Fees are based on a family's income and number of children with a national cap on the maximum fee. For example, the fee is approximately 3% of a parent's income for one child, with lower rates for additional children. Parents who are unemployed or on parental leave are entitled to 15 hours of preschool per week. The system is popular. Wait a minute. I was told this can't work. I was told this can't work. Wait a minute. I was told this isn't, Zoran Mamdani and his crazy ideas. This doesn't work. Now, he wants it to be free. In Sweden, they charge $135 a month. Now, in my opinion, there is no difference between $135 a month and free. That's basically free. And if you're poor in Sweden, the fee is waived. So they have a small fee for everybody else, but for the most part, it's free. And almost everyone uses it. Seems like a good idea. I think I saw that Zoran said the average cost of childcare in New York City right now is $24,000 a month. So if you give free childcare to parents in New York, that's like giving them a $24,000 a month or $24,000 a year raise. $24,000 a year. Let me see if we can get him to talk. Like, this is crazy. No cost childcare.
The best way to keep families in New York City is to make it cheaper to raise one. That's why since the beginning of this campaign, I've championed universal childcare, making a commitment to deliver it to New Yorkers with as young as 6 weeks to 5 years of age. Here are some staggering statistics that show why this is such an urgent fight. More than 80% of families with children under 5 cannot afford childcare in New York. Second, this also has a major cost to our economy. The lack of universal childcare has cost our city's economy more than $20 billion in the last. My administration will address this crisis by providing no-cost childcare to families with children as young as 6 weeks up until they're 5 years of age. To do this, we'll open more centers, using city space to open more centers, co-locating within the DOE wherever possible, subsidizing commercial rent, and easing the regulatory burden to make it easier to get permits. We will also make sure that all early childhood educators get paid a living wage, on par with DOE teachers, and will ensure that existing childcare providers have the resources they need to stay open, including streamlining the process so childhood centers are fully paid by the city and paid on time. We will also subsidize childcare at home for families who prefer to have a trusted neighbor or relative take care of their.
And this is the reality.
Oftentimes we talk about these initiatives only through the frame of cost, as opposed to what they generate. These initiatives would also generate significant economic benefit. $700 million is the cost of free buses. The assessment from experts is that it would generate $1.5 billion. $6 billion is the cost of universal childcare. When they implemented it in Quebec, it had a 10-to-1 return because there were so many more single mothers and mothers of young children who were now entering into the workforce. My point is that we have to also understand that we can only benefit. The last thing I'll say is, oftentimes we talk about.
I mean, this is basic shit. So this Palantir dipshit is saying this shit doesn't work. Here it is. So that was one of his top 3 planks. I guess the other one is rent control. Has rent control existed? Does that exist? Does that hold on, let me see if I can here we go. Vienna, which is the most livable city in the world, has had rent control since the 90s. Oh, let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find it in the video. Hold on, chat. I'm doing this live off the top of my head with no preparation, so give me a second while I look.
In November 2018, by introducing the subsidized housing zoning category. If land is thus classified as belonging to a subsidized housing zone, 2/3 of the usable floor space created for housing purposes must be taken up by subsidized dwellings. This caps rents and safeguards that affordable homes will continue to be constructed across the entire city, and again, ensures a good social mix all over Vienna. All these measures provide for an adequate supply of good housing in Vienna, as well as the rest of Austria. Last but not least, these benefits contribute to Vienna being continually voted the city with the highest standard of living in the world. Vienna was ranked as the most livable city worldwide 10 times in a row. This includes Quality of Living ranking 2019 by Mercer, as well as being classified as the best place to live worldwide by the Global Livability Index 2019 through The Economist. In comparison with other big cities, Vienna has rather moderate rent prices. To maintain this, even in times when the housing market is under great pressure due to the financial markets and the ever-increasing population, the city administration invests, as mentioned, annually roughly 400 million euros in housing construction and renovation of older buildings. With this funding budget, around 7,000 good-quality, affordable apartments are built every year, and over 5,000 apartments refurbished on average. Nowadays, the benchmark rent for a well-equipped municipal apartment is €5.81 per square meter.
And they're afraid of a challenge of a Mamdani-like challenger in their next election, and that is why they shut the government down. That's why the American people are feeling so much pain. We're just appealing to common sense to try to get out of this.
Okay, the common belief was maybe after the election, Democrats will come to their senses and take the position they have always taken, which is a clean CR, and they will open up.
Oh, in other words, the Democrats will cave to the Republicans and give them everything they want. And this has been part of the problem that we've had in politics for a long time, is that the Democrats were always the adults in the room, which means the Republicans could do maximalist negotiations and then the Democrats would cave. And so the Republicans never had to compromise because the Democrats were always compromising. We talk about iterative prisoner's dilemma on this stream a lot because game theory is important to understand in politics. And the Republicans are the always betray faction. They never cooperate. They always betray. And the Democrats are the always cooperate faction. So for the last 40 years, it has been optimal for Republicans to stab us in the back over and over and over again. And we don't have Democrats that will fight back. Finally, with this generation of leftists, do we have a left that says, you want to fuck with us? Then we're going to fuck you. And guess what? Now they're already panicking. They're already panicking. They're already saying, what do we do to get the old Democrats back? Help!
The government funded at current levels as you iron out differences on budgets, et cetera. Is that going to happen, or no indication of that?
We don't know yet. We're certainly hoping and praying that's the case. I mean, what are they trying to achieve here? The clean CR was nonpartisan. It has no big Republican priorities in it at all. It's only 24 pages in length, and it's a very simple measure. What the problem is right now is they're motivated out of fear, Sean. They actually do fear the backlash, the political retribution from the far-left activists who now run the Democratic Party more than they fear families going hungry, workers going without paychecks.
You're the ones that are doing that, you dumb fuck. You found $2 trillion to cut taxes for the rich. You found $40 billion to bail out Argentina. You found $330 billion to pour into Israel. You found $1 trillion for the Pentagon budget. I think you can find money for food stamps, you fucking scum.
Planes being delayed, flights being canceled. I mean, they just don't seem to care about the pain they're inflicting on the people, and we're trying to get at least a handful of moderates and centrists who are left in the Democrat Party in the Senate to do the right thing.
There it is, chat. There it is, clear as crystal. Moderates and centrists in the Democratic Party are quislings. They're traitors. They serve no purpose.
And break this impasse.
Between air traffic controllers, SNAP benefits, our military, at what point is there a breaking point and some people in that party wake up and understand this is damaging and hurting a lot of Americans all across the board?
Yeah, exactly. They care more about their own political careers than they care about the people that they claim to represent.
I mean, this is pure fucking projection. These fucking Republican scum. They want to pass a bill that'll cause our health insurance premiums to more than double. I haven't even, chat, I have to be honest, I haven't even looked. Because I'm a person who buys, because I'm a streamer and I rely on you guys supporting me. I don't have sponsors. I don't run ads. Whether or not I have health insurance depends upon whether or not you guys gift me subs or you guys subscribe for yourselves or you donate me money. I'm literally I'm dependent upon you. So that means I buy my health insurance on the market. I checked mine last night on the marketplace and mine is tripling. According to my law professor, the Argentina money was in a fund that could not be used for SNAP. I lost my shit arguing with him. He said that shutdown wasn't about healthcare, but rather health insurance, which is literally how you fund healthcare. Tallyhue, thank you for the 10 tier ones. That's just semantics. That's like saying the Pentagon budget isn't about the military. There is also a SNAP emergency fund that statutorily requires the government to continue funding SNAP, and Trump is impounding it illegally. He's getting sued, and he lost. Your law professor is a fucking moron. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Your fucking law professor is a moron. Federal judge orders Trump administration to pay SNAP benefits out of contingency fund. Right here, your law professor is a fucking idiot. This just happened 6 hours ago. Oh, I'm sorry, this happened last week. A Rhode Island federal judge on Friday ordered the U.S. Department of Agriculture to distribute money owed to recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program as soon as possible. The fuck is he talking about?
Represent. And that's why you're seeing these broad demographic shifts into the Republican Party. People are tired of this. You know, the Democrats funded a study that just came out a couple weeks ago, and their own study identified the Democrat Party is said to be thought of as weak and woke and out of touch. And they're proving that every day. They just simply don't care about the people anymore.
That study, by the way, had hundreds of thousands of people that they spoke to. It was not a small sample. Speaker Johnson, thank you. We appreciate it. Joining us now, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. I'm dying for your take about last night. Hello, comrade. How are you?
Look, last night was a disaster. It was an electoral blowout. The results in New Jersey were disastrous. The results in Virginia were terrible. The results in New York, Comrade Mamdani is the face of the Democrat Party. We have an actual communist jihadist, and it's important to note, Mamdani is not a socialist. He is a full-on communist.
Yes! Do you see? Now socialist isn't a big deal anymore. Do you see why it's important to run leftists and win? Communism is now on the table. Communism is now on the table, ultras, you dumb ultra fucks. Do you get it? Now people are saying, no, he's actually a communist. Now communists can come and say, actually, he's not. Communism means this. The Overton window is being expanded in front of your very eyes, you dumb fucks.
He is called for seizing the means of production in our economy. He is a Marxist. That is profoundly dangerous. And look, I know there's some Republicans who are saying, well, gosh, this will be good politically because he'll be the face of the Democrat Party. I think it's terrible for America. I think, you know, New York is the largest city in America. It is the financial capital of the world. It is the media capital of the world. And New York, we are going to see New Yorkers die. This is a lunatic who wants to abolish the police.
I think a lot of people are underestimating how good Mamdani is going to be. One, he's a wonk. In my time online, I don't know any other left-wing wonks. I really don't. I mean, Matt Bruning is the only one. I can't, like, there's a lot of leftist streamers that I really like, but I can't think of any other who are actually seriously educated in public policy. Maybe you guys have their names and I just don't know them. What's a wonk? It means somebody who knows who knows public policy, like how you actually do Medicare for all. How do you set up Medicare for all? What does that look like? What does that mean? How will that be implemented? How will hospitals get money for the, like, that's what a wonk is. David Dayen is another one. That's a good one. The Prospect, American Prospect is a good one. Mamdani isn't just a guy who goes out there and says platitudes. He's somebody who cares deeply about how, for example, they fund the construction of a subway station. He goes and looks at the contracts. He goes and looks at the employees. He goes and looks at the processes for planning. And not only is Mamdani good on policy, as he's good at politics, he's good on being a policy wonk. He actually cares about running the government correctly. There's no one else. Zohran Mamdani's staff transition team includes Matt Bruning. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in Mike from PA's. He cites sewer socialism, guys. I can spell Milwaukee, chat. I just accidentally forgot the U. Mamdani begins to pick the team that will help him run New York City. Zohran Mamdani has been planning his mayoral transition for months and appears poised to hire veterans of city government to key posts in his administration. Others consulted by Mr. Mamdani and his aides include Marshall Gans, a professor at Harvard University and expert in community organizing, and Matt Bruning, a labor lawyer who founded a left-leaning think tank, and Lilian Barrios Paloli, a deputy mayor for Health and Human Services under Mr. Bill de Blasio. They set up, they set up pre-K, right? Hearing that Zohran Mamdani is going to start a 501c4 called Our Time for the purpose of mobilizing supporters to pass his agenda. No intention of standing down his base of support. We talked about this earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to teach you a little bit of a history lesson. It's something we talked about, I want to say 6 months ago, last year, but repeating important facts is helpful for all of you. The New Deal started in New York. The left that resulted in FDR winning and then the New Deal and all the good shit. It started in New York because there was a horrible factory accident called the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. And that led a progressive movement to build in New York. And they tested out and they passed all sorts of policies that were later implemented nationwide in the New Deal. FDR was the governor of New York. Is the AI bubble starting to burst? Stock market is dumping today. Dumping for me means like at least 3 or 4%. Yeah, it's not even down one. This is just meh. When it's 3 or 4%, let me know. That's a dump.
This is a jihadist who cheers on the radicals and the terrorists who chants globalize the intifada. This is someone who, in the days before the election, is campaigning with an unindicted co-conspirator of the World Trade Center bombing. And this is about to be the mayor of New York.
That guy was
By the
a
way,
character
Virginia,
witness. But let me ask you. You act like, oh, it was a blowout. Did you expect any different result? Because I didn't. I mean, I had a little hope in New Jersey.
What? Now they're like, oh yeah, I expected us to get fucking beat the fuck out. What are you talking about? The polls in New Jersey showed you guys had a shot. He got fucking destroyed. The polls were totally wrong.
But, in the last 3 years, the migration out of New Jersey was a whopping nearly 250,000 people, Senator. I would imagine probably the vast majority of which would have voted for Jack Ciattarelli. That's a lot of people to lose in 3 years. They're going to your state and my state.
If I'm hearing you correctly, would a successful Mamdani mayoralship be a springboard for a potential AOC New Deal presidential run? Of course. This is what Chinese netizens on Mamdani. Now this is the ultimate Mike from PA. Oh, hell yeah. Give me more of this. We need more of this. I need Chinese netizen reactions to Mamdani. That's what I need. That's a YouTube video right there. Bring them to me.
Look, and you're right. And if you have all the people from New Jersey who moved to Florida, moved to Texas, if they were still there, Jack Ciattarelli might have won. By the way, all the New Yorkers who moved out of New York and went to Florida and went to Texas, Lee Zeldin might well have been governor, or we might have seen Mamdani beaten. But people are fleeing blue states, so they're getting more radicals. You're also seeing these states having massive immigration. You look at the numbers, the native-born New Yorkers, the New Yorkers who had been there 5 years or longer, voted against this lunatic. It is a massive in-migration. The Democrats are using demographics to change this country. And look at Virginia, where the Attorney General candidate in writing said, number one, he wanted to see his Republican colleagues in the legislature murdered. But even worse than that, he wanted to see their children dead and to see them crying and holding their dead babies. He knew those kids. That deranged individual is now going to be the Attorney General in Virginia, the chief law enforcement officer. And what that tells us is a couple of things. Number one, we're so polarized that on the Democrat side, they don't care. No major Democrat denounced Jay Jones, despite his openly...
You had senators who were Mike Lee openly celebrated the assassination of Democratic politicians in Minnesota. You fucking worm. Openly. These were private messages. People sometimes get spicy or hyperbolic in private messages. They don't reflect their actual opinion. Meanwhile, Mike Lee was mocking assassinated Minnesota politicians. You snowflake bitch.
Wishing for the murder of kids. Even in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, every Democrat circled around and said, he's our guy. We don't care if he's advocating political violence. But number two, look, last night should be a warning sign. It should be a warning sign to Republicans across this country. The left, they're energized, they're angry. Democrats are outraising Republicans right now, 3-1, 4-1. It is dangerous, and I think on our side, they're Republicans, and they're just people who are common sense in the middle, who I fear are feeling happy, are feeling potentially complacent. That is really, really dangerous. The left showed up in big numbers last night, and common sense conservatives did not. If that happens a year from now, we face disaster in the midterms.
Okay. I don't feel as dire as you do. However, it is a cautionary tale always. And I think that you need to examine, you need reflection, introspection, course correction. And of course, the president laid the foundation for our economy to shift. I believe that will happen sooner than later. And when it does, there'll be a big story to tell there on top of all the peace deals he's put together. I'm pretty confident with that. Ted Cruz, thank you. And up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
I said, if ever you want to talk to Daddy, you just look up to the sky and start talking to him. He can hear you. It's always me, Robert.
Erica Kirk sat down with our very own Jesse Waters for her very first interview since her husband's assassination. We have highlights. We will get reaction from some of her and Charlie's best friends. Also, James Comey was back in court earlier today. Well, Senator Lindsey Graham, he thinks he's got a smoking gun, and it happened right here on this program. We'll play that straight ahead. All right, Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, spoke with our very own Jesse.
Okay, I haven't even talked about how Erica Kirk and the inappropriate touching and fondling that went down with JD Vance. But Jesus, that story we might have to get to at another time. But because it's very weird and creepy, and I don't know how to even interpret it. Oh my God! Palantir, ever since we watched Palantir go on CNBC and say, other people will buy your stocks, don't worry about the business, it's dropped 5%. Oh my God.
Just to put into perspective what's going on with Palantir there, Marty, is like, maybe it's a case of buy the rumor and sell.
Oh, chat. Oh my God, I didn't tell you guys this story. So oh my God, chat, did I tell you that I met the stock guy at TwitchCon? So many other funny shit. Thank you, Casey Tron. The Queen is in my chat. Everybody, if you're not following Casey Tron, what are you fucking doing? I met the stock guy, and apparently he knew who I was. Of course, most people know who I am. I don't know who they are, right? I'm not trying to flex. I just don't give a shit about, other than like very few people who I actually like, okay? So he came up to me, and he like shook my hand, and he was like huffing and puffing, and he was saying, I saw a clip that you said you could out trade me. And I was like, yeah, yes, I did. I said, are you sure I said that? If so, I that sounds like me. And he was like, I just like, what I do is with my money, I buy index funds and I like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, that's good advice. But I like trade for fun. And like, I bought like Palantir. I bought Palantir, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, because obviously you don't care about the ethics of, the companies that you support or you invest in. He's like, well, you can't really care about that if you want to have big returns and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I remember. I said that everybody looks intelligent in a bull market. Rising tide lifts every boat. It's very easy to trade. Casey Tron was a witness. Now listen, stock guy seems like he seems like a relatively normal. It was just very funny to be all up largely, he just agreed with what I had said in the clips, which is if you buy at the beginning of a bull market, you look smart. It's not that hard. And trading individual stocks is gambling. And the wise thing to do is buy low load or no fee, index funds. That has been the winning and most profitable play. So if that's all you're telling your people, then what the fuck is the stream about? You know what I mean? Like, all right, everybody, buy exchange traded or, buy Vanguard's, index funds that have very low fees and then auto buy every month a certain number of, and continually dollar cost average into an index fund. Wow, I just told you your entire investing strategy in 5 seconds. What's the stream about? At least he's not selling courses as far as finance bros. Didn't he have like a paid like Discord? Didn't he have a paid Discord where he like told people his shit? He seems fine, whatever. I'm not trying to go to war with the stock guy. It's just, it was very weird to be butthurt and then fundamentally agree. I think here's what I'll say about the stock guy. In our society, if you don't have a defined benefit pension, you have to save money in order to retire one day. That's just the way it works. That's just the way life is, you know, like, so I think it's irresponsible for leftists not to tell you that. Personally, that's just the way it goes. If you have the ability to save money, you should save money. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I don't think you should buy Palantir. I don't think you should buy evil defense corporations. So I don't know. The stock guy seems like a fine guy. I was just making fun of the idea that actively trading is some, like, people are actually smarter and they can actively trade. And what it comes down to is you're buying a lottery ticket. And sometimes people win lottery tickets. Doesn't mean that they were smart to buy a lottery ticket. Just means they're the winner. They're the guy who had the numbers. It wasn't because of, you know, unless they figured out how the lottery was broken and they exploited that, then it was just random chance. Somebody's got to win. Rep. Nancy Pelosi, the only female House Speaker, said she would retire in 2027. Ending a run as one of the most powerful women in U.S. politics. Why is she retiring in the middle of her term? Oh, okay. Sorry. 2027 is when her current term runs out. Okay. So she's not seeking re-election. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. That's good to know. Epic and Google agree to settle their lawsuit and change Android's fate globally. It will force Google to carry rival app stores within its own Google Play Store, give those rival stores access to the full catalog of Google Play apps. I can't believe Epic is doing one of the most important antitrust decisions in American history. That's amazing. All right, let's get back. Sorry, the stock guy. He seems all right. I just, believing in capitalism is very funny. That's you know, it's like being like, you know, feudalism. That's the way humanity has always been. That's the most advanced form of human organization. We just need to have Elon Musk have $1 trillion. That's optimal, man. We need Elon Musk making all our economic decisions.
Fact, because this is a stock, and we put up the chart a moment.
The Cybertruck, good idea for American EVs to be invested in the Cybertruck. That's awesome. We should close down American markets to Chinese competition. No. Don't show me an EV for $8,000. I don't want that. We don't want any competition with Chinese car companies. We all have to buy the Cybertruck for $90,000. I believe in capitalism.
Ago, where Palantir has had an incredible run over the course of 2025 so far, and I think it was up about 18% in the previous 8 trading days before the earnings came out. And of course, we just mentioned that the earnings.
Stocky is fine. He's mostly rational and not weirdly anti-China. Okay, wow, that's based. Holy shit, that's incredibly based. I am reevaluating my opinion on the stock guy. He's not anti-China? I will give him a chance. All right, I want to apologize. Being capitalist isn't cringe, though.
Earnings and the guidance where we're good, but still the stock has been sold off. So just to give a little context there, that maybe it's a case of some heat needed to come out.
It's so funny because people will look at China and they'll say, well, China has markets. That means they're capitalist. And it's like, they have a communist party at the commanding heights of the economy, which controls the financial sector, which controls insurance sector, which controls the utilities, like, is doing massive industrial policy. Basically, the communists have set up an arena where the capitalists are forced to compete to the maximum possible degree. And every time they try to do rent seeking, the Chinese Communist Party fucking bonks them in the head. And that's how capitalists really make money, setting up toll booths. That's how you make real profit, is when you just skim. And the Chinese Communist Party keeps dismantling every skim and forcing maximum competition. If that's what you want to call capitalism, sign me the fuck up, because that's not what we have. That's not what we have. And I'm going to say something that's going to piss off some ultras. Market socialism can be a strategy for getting us to higher forms of socialism. Using markets to maximally develop our productivity to a post-scarcity level. Socialism is the next stage of human development. Just like humanity could not go from hunter-gatherer to the information age, it had to go through the agricultural stage. Agriculture had to be developed before industry could be developed. These were necessary stages in human, social, and economic development that had to be passed through.
Of which, you know, I was taking a look at history, because a lot of...
Holy shit, check Palantir now. Remember earlier how I said if it's not 4 or 5%, it's not a crash? Now it's gone up like so much this year, so this is only giving up like a month worth of gains because it's been so hardly bubbled. Jim Cramer just said Ooh, the NASDAQ is off 2% almost. Ooh, uh-oh. Ooh. I just don't, I mean, maybe I'm stupid. And I'm willing to accept that maybe on AI, I just am dumb. What is AI actually disrupting? Like, where is AI actually advancing humanity in a way that is like incontrovertible? Like, other than making slop videos that look ugly as fuck. Didn't Mao and Lenin argue that under the right conditions, the capitalist phase could be skipped? Were they right though? Although I will say this, I want you to understand something, chat. And this is a fact that you may not know, but it's a very important fact for any time you meet an anti-communist. Question, chat. What country has had the fastest rate of growth since its founding? The answer is the People's Republic of China has grown at over 8% GDP per year every year since 1949. The only reason that China isn't wealthier than the US is because under capitalism, it was the poorest country nearly in the world. When they had the nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek and they had a bunch of capitalists, China was fucking disastrously poor. It wasn't until 1949 and the Communist Party of China that growth began. And since then, it's been the fastest growing economy in human history, averaging over 8% per year since 1949. No other country fucking close. That's faster than the US was in the post-war boom. And something that people don't know is that when the nationalists fled mainland China, they stole every piece, every asset of the Chinese government. They took all the assets, all the money, all the bonds, all the gold. They took it to Taiwan. They took every piece of chattels that wasn't nailed down. Sometimes they pulled up the nails and they moved it over to Taiwan. When the communists took over in China, they had literally nothing. AI is the greatest excuse for mistakes on insurance claims, among others. Even if these get corrected afterwards, you still improve your cash flow. Same effect for after-sale services, etc. Oh, that's a really good point. How do we argue about work camps, bullshit, and massacres, etc.? I'm asking about this recently because I've had to deal with a lot of anti-China hate. If you want to know where the massacres were, look at Taiwan. They had the White Terror. And there's a reason why they call it White Terror Taiwan, because there's been so many. They declared martial law in 1948, and they didn't lift it until 1992. That's our ally. Martial law from 1948 till 1992. My boss literally yesterday, as we laid off our only motion designer, said to use Firefly and AI to do the rest. This is where we're fucking at. Oh my lord. We are. Oh my lord. They also took half the shit in the Forbidden City and made their own in Taipei. Kind of pathetic. Chinese communists are also historically pro art conservation. Yeah, don't even get me started. Jamie Dimon, the chief executive of JP Morgan Chase, put in a call to Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani this morning, according to a JP Morgan spokesman, who said the two men had not connected yet today. Dimon, like many New York business leaders, expressed deep concern about Mamdani shortly after his primary victory, but with Mamdani set to be the city's mayor, he and other business leaders are looking to see how they can work together. Do you see why state power is so incredible? The most powerful capitalists in the world are bending the fucking knee. Do you get it? They aren't fucking leaving. They're going, well, how can we work together? Okay. Does this dip feel different? I don't know. I just don't believe. I just don't believe in the AI hype. I'm kind of. Can I be completely transparent about my take on AI? I'm ambivalent. Like, I'm not an AI super hater because I don't give a shit. I haven't seen it do anything well enough for me to be like, oh, it's actually disrupting human creativity. It's just kind of mediocre slop. It can't write well. It's not very good at research. The art it creates sucks. I mean, maybe language translation, but like for the amount of cost it takes, what you get out of it, I've never understood the hype. Seems like hype to me. And you know, if these AI reasoning centers could help us do things like, you know, find more compounds to try for drugs, I'm okay with that. I look at AI like the Communist Party of China looks at AI, which is it looks like you have to invest in it in case it does turn out to be something good, but I'm not going to hold my breath that it's going to take over everything. It doesn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you should invest just to see, but it largely seems like a bubble to me and meaningless. And honestly, kind of sucks. I will say that that's kind of my take. Maybe I'm not anti-AI enough. Maybe I just don't know enough, but everything I've seen, I'm just like, this writes like a college freshman. Like a college freshman who's got some talent but was writing the essay in the class before it was due. That's what I get. Whenever I get an AI essay, it's like, what if I assigned this topic to a B+ college student? That's the result you get. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I guess that's better than absolutely nothing, but it's not blowing my socks off. More people search Mamdani than Kamala Harris, but she got the nomination. The thing about China, and the reason why they're going to win, whatever this AI shit ends up being, is China believes it's specializing. Like, the reason why China is kind of going super, you know, going exponential in their productivity is because they look at specialist. They really like to invest in specialized equipment and specialized use cases. They're not doing this like hype general AI bullshit. Well, maybe it could help us with, you know, I don't know, having a robot arm pick up a box. Maybe we could use it there. I think there was just an AI guy. Hold on.
And I've been calling it political theater for a long time. These two countries are absolutely dependent on one another. They are so interdependent. It's like a three-legged stool with one being ripped out. We need those rare earths. They know we do. They need
Hassan and Summer Lee. Special stream with Summer Lee for PA. I'm so excited. I've been trying to make this happen for so long. Summer Lee is the most underrated politician in America. Oh, what's her at? There we go. Ugh. Summer Lee is so cool, and I'm excited. I saw you recommend Fran Hong to Hassad yesterday. I hope they can connect. I'll make it happen. Don't worry. I'm so happy for her because I love her. And like, honestly, it's my fault she hasn't been on my stream. It's honestly my fault she hasn't been on my stream. I just didn't want to bring, I was like, you know, people tried to cancel me. So I didn't want her to get any kind of like, whenever somebody's trying to cancel me, I try not to bring any politicians on my stream because I don't want them, if I really like them, I'm like very protective of them. So I don't want any kind of, anytime somebody's like working really hard to get me canceled, I typically don't bring politicians on during that period. So, you know, back in July, I was talking to her about coming on the stream. So unfortunately, you know, there were some wreckers in the community, in the online left that were trying to cancel me at that point. So I kind of put it on ice. That said, good call while being canceled. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it goes, right? Like, you want to protect the people you actually like.
A lot of our technology, and they need our consumer. They are building advanced chips. Huawei is doing some really good work, but overall, there is no, you know, there's no situation in which the Chinese researchers, the developers, and they're doing very well on that side, would not prefer to build on the NVIDIA stack. And so right now, what I think is going on is this is a lot of negotiation. I ultimately see it landing where China's going to get maybe 1 or 2 generations. Right now, getting the H20 is like 4+ generations outdated. The B30 could be the solution that definitely would put them closer. But I do think what you know, Secretary Bessent said and what President Trump said is there probably is no situation, even after we negotiate the best trade situation for both United States and China, in which we are going to give them the most advanced chip, whether that's the Blackwell Ultra, the newest second half rollout from NVIDIA this year.
The reality is that China is going to be doing corporate espionage. They're going to be able to get access to these chips. They're going to be able to, you know, investigate them. They're going to have the blueprints. Now, the question is, these are at the cutting edge of industrial processes. If there's any country in the world that is capable of catching up and surpassing the United States of America on industrial capacity, it is literally China. We're in trouble. And this is a fleeting advantage.
Or whether that's going to be Rubin, which is their next generation chip. But when Rubin comes out, could they get the early iterations of Blackwell? Absolutely, I see that as possible. I do think we'll continue to have these negotiations. I also think there's a lot more progress that's made behind the scenes, and I think a lot of what gets shared in public, I think that's just the...
Yeah, Dan, I mean, the theater includes, it looks as though the president and Secretary Bessent are playing sort of good cop, bad cop on NVIDIA chips to China, and that's probably going to likely be the case for the next 6 months until the president does do that trip to Beijing to meet Xi Jinping, right? What I'm trying to figure out is this. You mentioned a couple of names there, H20 and also B30s. B30s are, I think, what is part of the conversation right now, whether they should be allowed to be sold to China. And they're not Blackwells, right?
They don't even need to do corporate espionage. The LOL China bad drum is all the American AI companies beat and it is driving researchers off. Yeah, a lot of researchers are from China and they'll go home.
To give black wells to China, that would be like giving away the farm, literally, right? But even B30s, they're 12 times faster than the H20, and that would narrow the U.S.'s advantage or lead over China in AI. And I'm wondering whether or not that is something that's really advisable.
Well, again, it's step functions because it's 12 times faster than the H20, but it's still about half as powerful as the Blackwell that is shipping in the United States and to our other allies around the world. So it is, and by the way, the B does stand for Blackwell series. So even though that is sort of a bit of a semantic in terms of whether they can have Blackwell, because at some point this B30 generation is part of the Blackwell generation. But I overall think that what they can accomplish, and there's a couple of different factors in play. First of all, what could they accomplish with an H series? You know, the DeepSeek moment. I was one that sort of poo-pooed that as being as big of a moment as some of the media and some of the pundits made out, but it was a big moment. But the question around that was, did they build it with H20s? Was it with H100s? Were they bringing chips in legally, or were they importing them in gray markets and black markets? There's a lot of questions about whether China's still using NVIDIA chips. And so this is a big thing that still needs to be solved for. I do think ultimately the negotiation, if we get all that we want from China in terms of their...
Bologna said, I won my city council race. 34-month subscriber. Bolognius has won another electoral race. I take full credit. I won my small Kansas town city council race. We out here. I take full credit. Mike did it. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. That's a joke. Congratulations, brother. Now go be an annoying socialist on that city. No, I'm kidding. You need to be likable, pragmatic.
Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing, etc. You know, Palantir, Anduril, and the rest. I mean, these are kind of like the equivalent of barbarians at the gate, right? I mean,
Michael Berry shorted Palantir and it's already dropped 6%. Uh-oh. All right, chat. Let us get to more of the Mamdani meltdown.
Congratulations to Zoran Mamdani.
Well, you can't imagine how disappointed I am. This is a horrible blow.
I honestly feel bad. I have friends of mine in New York. My phone is blowing up. They are officially depressed and scared.
And this was also a hostile takeover by the Democratic Socialists of America.
And this is a crazy situation. It's a very, very sad night.
Made him the stylish candidate as
exactly.
well.
Exactly. The rapping video.
The cool kid.
I will tell you that his wife is a icon. And from what I saw, TikTok, this is Jackie Onassis level shit. Like, not only is Mamdani, he's a policy wonk, you know, socialist nerd, sewer socialist enjoyer guy, my ideal candidate. She is a fucking baddie, but she's got impeccable energy. The women on TikTok were swooning. Let me show you what I'm talking about. They were fucking swooning. If you have TikToks, I mean, these are getting 400,000 likes.
Rama Dawaji, Zohran Mamdani's wife. Rama Dawaji is a 28-year-old Syrian-American artist who is about to become the First Lady of New York City. She was born in Houston to Syrian parents. Her father's a computer engineer, her mother's a doctor. She grew up in the US and spent summers in Damascus, with her family later moving to Dubai. Dawaji studied art at university, first in Qatar, then in Virginia, and became a ceramicist, illustrator, and digital artist. Her work focuses on identity, and she's been openly political on Instagram, criticizing American imperialism and speaking out about Gaza. In 2021, she moved to New York and later met Mamdani on Hinge. The two got married at City Hall earlier this year. She's far from a traditional political spouse. She's an artist, visibly online, and part of a new generation of outspoken Arab-American voices. Who is Rama?
You're making your art, and for Sleiman Mansour, it's the Palestinian people. Hi, I'm Rama, a Syrian illustrator and animator based in Brooklyn, and today I'm going to be animating a portrait of Sleiman Mansour, who is a painter and sculptor that's inspired the work that I do. Sleiman is an artist of the Intifada, which in Arabic means uprising or rebellious opposition. His work is about the Palestinian experience under occupation, and growing up seeing his paintings, I was always really inspired by the emotion behind his portraits. To me, his work is a visual protest, and it underlines both the struggles and joys of Palestinian life. One of the really important things about Sleiman's work is the way he preserves Palestinian identity in a time where it's constantly under threat.
I want you to think about some of the online influencers that have spent the better part of the last 6 months trashing Zoran, calling him a Zionist sellout, posturing as if their book club is going to be the revolution. I want you to think about those scumbags, those sexists, those narcissists.
Of being erased. He uses his art to document it in almost an archival way, and in the way that he paints the villages that have since changed beyond recognition by Israeli settlers, and uses symbols like Jaffa oranges and olive trees to highlight plants that are indigenous to the land. Making art about the occupation is an act of defiance in itself, and being based between Jerusalem and Ramallah, Sleiman has been jailed twice since the start of his career. As Nina Simone says, it's the duty of an artist to reflect the times, and Sleiman does exactly that. And since then, he's inspired many artists after him, including myself, to use art as a tool to speak up against oppression and to fight for liberation.
This is the first lady of New York City. Her reaction when she heard Cheney died. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be like super fans of these people or get super parasocial. I'm just showing this is what they believe. This is what they're fighting for. This is who they are. She's so incredible. Whoever her partner is must be hard to live in her shadow. Woo! Imagine not being able to be happy. I think you guys don't understand how this is the turning point. Bloomers fucking in.
Case for his long-term. Ross Douthat is the worst kind of right-wing figure because he actually is a well-read one. Sewer socialism, what the fuck? No, he's right. God, you guys are literally less well-read than fucking Ross Douthat. He's right. He's right. God damn, some of you motherfuckers do not listen to Michael from Pennsylvania at all, for the record, okay? But like,
they're literally running the campaign that I wanted people to run while also being incredibly cool.
Dawaji, Zohran Mamdani's wife.
We are, this is the turning point. So not only is Mamdani killing it, he's got a wife with fucking aura and women. She is the socialist. I mean, people are posting Princess Diana photo like it's fucking over. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, the aura is insane. Like, people are...
Watch this clip really quick. Now reflect with me for a moment that earlier this week, Donald Trump said on 60 Minutes that he's more attractive than Zohran Mamdani. Donald Zohran has a wife who will let him touch her. Watch this clip really quick. Now reflect with me.
For those of you who are crusty socialists or anarchists and you don't understand why it's important to have aura, why it's important to have a face card that never declines, the goth girlfriend, golden retriever, boyfriend trope is true. You just say black cat. Black cat, golden retriever.
Socialism. Terrifying word. A lot of people are afraid of the word socialism. And a lot of people have misconceptions about what it means. I'm a democratic socialist, and what socialism means to me is a commitment to dignity, a state that provides whatever is necessary for its people to live a dignified life. So the typical big three that we talk about are housing, healthcare, education. But frankly, if you look around in the moment of this pandemic, we see how many more things are necessary to live with a dignified life. We need our internet because we have all of our kids staying at home doing remote learning, and if you don't have internet, you can't be taught, you can't learn. Whether it's childcare, whether it's public transportation, whether it's our utilities, whether it's our housing, whether it's our healthcare, these are not things that should be up for debate. Because we see what happens when we let the market be the sole determinant of the distribution of dignity. It picks and chooses people who can survive and people who can thrive. It is up to us here across New York to make it very clear that every single one of us deserves a shot, that an injury to one is an injury to all, that our future is built on the notion of solidarity.
He did the thing that I've been telling people for years at this point, which is that he centered the working class and all of the issues that they were experiencing in his platform. And lo and behold, it turns out the working class responds fairly positively to a platform that seeks to at least solve some of the issues around affordability that they're experiencing.
Was it the working class, or was it a group of people who were excited by him because of who he was? In other words, does identity still count? Did it still count? Or is affordability the single reason why he won?
This is a person who was relentlessly hounded in the last 2 weeks of his campaign about his background, being falsely tied to 9/11, a heinous act of terror that New Yorkers experienced in 2001. Over and over again, simply due to his Muslim background. So I think, if anything, his identity was not a galvanizing factor, but instead a hurdle that he had to overcome. And I think he did a fantastic job with that.
I don't agree completely with Hassan. I think that identity is one of those things that is a double-edged sword. It's not just negative. It can also be positive in that it can help you communicate authenticity in your beliefs, right? And so I don't completely agree that it was just a hurdle. I think it also helped him communicate authentically.
Because he centered his issues, no matter what they threw him, back to the policy.
All right, chat. So Elon Musk on Joe Rogan.
Say Mamdani's a swindler. I know he has a bunch of fake accents that he used to use.
Yeah.
And, but what else has he done that makes him a swindler?
Well, I guess if you say...
By the way, from the biggest swindler of all time, we're going to have full self-driving next year, guys. Full self-driving next year. Should I start a DSA in my hometown? Of course.
What I mean, if you say to any audience, whatever that audience wants to hear, instead of having a consistent message, I would say,
guys, we're gonna be in Mars in 2025, and full self-driving is coming out in 2015.
That is a swindly thing to do, yeah, but he is charismatic.
Why doesn't this pussy invite Mamdani on? Invite him on, Joe. Hey, Laney, what's up? Swindly. Elon Musk self-driving compilation. What a fucking scam artist. Next year, guys.
Really fundamental message that consumers should be taking today is that it's financially insane.
Everybody's linking me this one instead.
For 8 years, Elon Musk has been saying he would deliver a self-driving car in a year or so.
3 years ago.
He still isn't close.
The Tesla car next year will probably be 90% capable of autopilot. So 90% of your miles could be on auto. We're probably only a month away from having autonomous driving, at least for highways and for relatively simple roads. The Model S and Model X at this point can drive autonomously with greater safety than a person right now. We're still on track for being able to go cross country from LA to New York by the end of the year, fully autonomous.
But next year, for sure, we will have over 1 million robo-taxis on the road.
I'm extremely confident of achieving full autonomy and releasing it to the Tesla customer base next year.
When do you think Tesla will solve level 4 FSD?
I mean, it's looking quite likely that it will be next year.
How can anyone trust what Elon Musk...
The fucking swindler. By the way, Mamdani is a swindler for policies that already exist in countries around the world, by the way. By the way, guys. By the way. Dipshit. A fake headline is circulating saying that I promised to blow my brains out on live TV if Mamdani wins. I will contribute $180 chai to Mamdani's re-election campaign if anyone could show I actually said it. I did not. I will continue to oppose Mayor Mamdani's anti-Semitic and anti-Israel bigotry, but I will do it with my brains intact. Anti-Israel bigotry now? Anti-Israel is bigotry now?
older people. This isn't just Gen Z or Gen X.
I agree with you.
Boomers and that kind of thing. Who
Yeah, I see this as a disaster for New York City. And
Zohran Mamdani. All right. Well, I want to bring in our panel. They'll cheer me up. They'll cheer.
I think what everybody needs to recognize, what everybody needs to understand, is that everybody all politicians understand that Mamdani is the real deal. So why do you have political analysts that you watch who don't know that?
Zohran for the W. Damn. New York City has elected a Muslim Ugandan socialist named Kwame. On paper, he sounds like an African dictator. Like Tupac would have named one of the outlaws after him. Idi Amin, Gaddafi, Mamdani. He thug life as hell. His middle name is named after Kwame Nkrumah, the liberator of Ghana. He got my vote off that. Freeze the rent, free buses, universal child care. Me and Melanie was just saying it's the most hope we've had in the democratic process since they robbed Bernie. I lost all faith. Remember when Bernie was in the lead by a significant margin and the 5 remaining Democrats all dropped out and endorsed Biden the same day? That was fucked up. That was like when Bron, Wade, and Chris Bosh all went to the Heat. Niggas was like, yo, you can do that? Democrats, man. They call themselves liberals, but not because they support liberty. They support the silent, apologetic accumulation of massive capital. While Trump and his cronies are more of the smash and grab type. It's like a pickpocket versus stick-up kid. You still getting robbed. Either way it goes.
Exactly.
I mean, Nancy Pelosi up 300-400 mil. She had a $7 million day on the stock market this year. What the fuck does she care about universal child care? She could care for every child in the universe. It's not that I'm against making money by any means, but go be on Wall Street. Instead, you want me to think you understand because you're kneeling in a dashiki and a kufi on Juneteenth. I cannot feed my child with that, Nancy. Democrats refuse to accept that the people want radical change. That's why many Obama voters went to Trump, because both, for better or for worse, represented radical change.
Chat, VO picked up some books to read. I mean, she got herself a hardbound Communist Manifesto. I mean, that's based. But we got Black Shirts and Reds, Recommend by Michael Parenti, and The Darker Nations. Ooh, A People's History of the Third World. Now, this is, I'm kind of surprised. Who recommended this? I didn't recommend this one to you. Damn. This is a really good one. And by the way, I think VJ just said something about, the author of this just said something about Mamdani's win. Let's check that out. Yeah. Let me see if I can find what he said. VJ. Hold on, I'm finding it. Here's what he said. He said, New York has a mayor that actually represents the city. Good luck to Zohran Mamdani as he will be pushed and pulled in all directions to fulfill his mandate. In a video message, he rightly said that all those who build his campaign must make a lifelong commitment to struggle. That is key. This is his victory to get to the mayor's office, but beyond that, the victory of the millions who became political, became hopeful, became energized. May they remain in the class struggle and move the needle of emancipation further and deeper. I had already retweeted it. All right, what were we watching? Apparently, the Democrat subreddit banned any post about Mamdani. r/Democrats has banned any talk of Democratic Socialist candidates. The mods are arguably intentionally banning a significant portion of the Democratic Party base. What do you mean significant portion? He won the primary in New York and won the general election with the majority. They're banning the majority of voters in New York? What the fuck? See what I mean? Do you guys see what I mean? All right, Zohran went on Good Morning America, chat.
I am here with the mayor-elect of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. Congratulations. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
You broke a lot of new ground last night. First Muslim mayor of New York, first Democratic Socialist, first mayor to win more than 1 million votes in, 3 decades, youngest mayor in more than a century. So what is the message and the mandate behind that?
The message is about transforming the most expensive city in the United States of America into one that's affordable for each and every New Yorker. And what New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs gave us.
If New York was affordable, let's say that it was $2,500 a month for a 2-bedroom. All right, let's just imagine that for a second. Every single fucking, like, I would move there right now. I would break my lease. I'd move there right fucking now. The amount of people saying New York is going to decline, the delusion is insane. The delusion is fucking insane. There is an almost unlimited demand for new housing in New York. Like, if you went in there and said, okay, we're building 2-bedroom apartments, there's no end in the demand.
last night was a mandate to pursue the most ambitious affordability agenda the city has seen since the days of Fiorello LaGuardia, and it's time that we start to deliver it.
Well, let's dig into that, because you're talking about a rent freeze, you're talking about free buses, you're talking about free childcare. Can you do that without raising taxes?
I think you can do that, and I think you have to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers who make more than $1 million a year, and you do that by raising taxes by them 2%. And then you also increase the corporate tax of New York State to match that of New Jersey. So that takes us from about 7.25 to about 11.5%, which is what we see in New Jersey. These things together raise about $9 billion, which more than pays for our economic agenda and also starts to Trump-proof our city.
But are you worried that could drive a lot of job creators out of New York?
So what I've heard from a number of business leaders is that the affordability crisis is also affecting their ability to attract and retain talent. The city's inability to provide childcare means that businesses often have to provide stipends for that childcare. Right now, the absence of universal childcare means that a family will pay around $22,500 a year, which is more money than many of them would spend if they sent that same kid to college 18 years later. And it is time for city government to actually step up to the responsibility that it has.
Not just the city government, that kind of a tax increase is going to require the state as well, including the governor, Kathy Hochul. Is she on board?
You know, I'm proud to have Governor Kathy Hochul's endorsement and the endorsement of our agenda, specifically universal childcare. And I've said time and again, I think these are the two most direct and straightforward ways to raise this revenue. If there are other ways to raise this funds, the most important thing is that we actually fund this agenda.
You said that President Trump was watching you last night. It appears that he was watching you. And it also appears that he and other Republicans are trying to make you the poster boy of the Democratic Party.
By the way, chat, if the Republicans try to make Zohran Mamdani the poster boy of the Democratic Party, we're going to win 65% of the popular vote. All right? Like, I'm sorry. Everyday people are going to be like, wait, childcare? Wait, keeping our rent down? Wait, like, what are you talking about?
Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, calls you a true extremist and a Marxist. And he says now every House Democrat incumbent and candidate will co-own Mamdani's disastrous record in the 2026 midterms. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm looking forward to showing the power of an example here in New York City. An example of what it means to not just diagnose the despair in working people's lives as the cost of living crisis, but to deliver on it. And that's the contrast between myself and President Trump. He's someone who ran an entire presidential campaign on the promise of cheaper groceries and is now, as the president, making it harder for Americans to afford those groceries by cutting SNAP benefits.
You worried he's going to crack down on New York City, maybe even...
Mehdi Hassad said had a really good point. So 1 million people are ready to pack up their stuff and leave, but they would show up and vote for Cuomo. Exactly. Cuomo, by the way, and I want to say this, Cuomo got a lot of Republican votes. A lot of Republicans got off the couch and voted for Cuomo. That was the surprise to me. Turnout was way higher with Republicans for Cuomo than I thought. That was my, sometimes people say like, Mike, you know, you thought that Zohran was going to break 52%. He's going to be around 51. Why were you off? And the answer is because a lot more Republicans showed up and voted for Cuomo after the Trump endorsement. I didn't think Trump would actually openly endorse Cuomo like he did, but they showed up. And if you look at a map of the mayor's race, you'll notice two things. The hyper rich people voted for Cuomo and Republicans voted for Cuomo. That's what you see. And they boosted that Republican turnout. But the reality is there were a hell of a lot more people that were excited and passionate to come out and vote for Zohran. It didn't matter that Zohran got outspent 8-1. We love you, Mike, but you said 56. I said 52 to 60 is my range. And 56 was my number. And ultimately, why didn't that happen? A lot more Republicans voted for Cuomo than I thought. That's why. And Cuomo did really well. I want you guys to understand something, chat. Cuomo did really well. His campaign was not a weak campaign. He was not a weak candidate. He was an extremely strong candidate. I know a lot of, you know, at the time we were all doing propaganda about how he sucks. But now that he's defeated, the reality is he was a very strong candidate. He was a very, very, he was the best that the right wing of the Democratic Party could muster up. He was an extremely strong candidate. And against anybody else, he would have won. He would have beaten Brad Lander's ass. I want you to understand that. He would have beaten Brad Lander's ass. Friend of the show, Jules Nader, made a graph yesterday that I wanted to show you guys. comparing the best performances of a major New York City mayoral candidates across the 2000s. Andrew Cuomo would have beaten Eric Adams, Bill de Blasio, Michael Bloomberg, Mark Green. Andrew Cuomo had an incredibly strong performance. That's the reality. A terrible candidate, but a good machine campaign. Listen, I'm sorry. I hate Andrew Cuomo, but he did really well. His campaign was strong. Now, you could say it was strong for ideological reasons or the billionaires did it or whatever the fuck. I don't care why it was strong. It just objectively was strong. And we crushed his ass. We flattened his ass. We had a historically strong campaign. Zoran didn't just beat his ass. He annihilated his ass. He crushed him. Any other year, Cuomo wins. Walking away. I mean, first to break 1 million votes since 1969. Zoran got more votes in 2025 than Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa did in 2021 combined. Look at this. So, like, now that Cuomo has been knocked down, now that Cuomo has been humiliated, we can be honest and say he put together a hell of a campaign. The way he was able to unite the machines of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, pull in tens of $millions from billionaires. The fact that People Power and Zoran beat that is absolutely incredible. You should be a fucking bloomer. There's no way they could have put together a better opposition to Zoran, and they got their asses beat. They got their asses crushed. It wasn't even close. By winning, Democrats are actually losing. And I don't say this because I'm glazing Andrew Cuomo. I'm saying this to glaze Zoran Mamdani. Zoran beat the best the capitalist class could put together in their home turf with unlimited money. He clapped their fucking cheeks. Zoran Mamdani's biggest threat is not Donald Trump. It's the Democratic old guard. Correct. That is correct. That is what I've been trying to tell you guys for the entire history of my stream. For 7 years, I've been telling you our enemy is the centrist Democrats. If you believe in progressive change, if you believe in a Green New Deal or Medicare for all or ending our imperialist wars or cutting the Pentagon budget or investing in our country, if you believe in fighting climate change, our enemy is not the Republicans. That's a rump. That's 35% of the people, max. It is the Democratic Party machine. Western Marxists. Class analysis and social investigation of your country. Hit the streets to get in contact with the people. Formulate strategy in clear language. Joint education courses with the masses about class struggle. Build infrastructure. Facilitate countervailing power. Build a revolutionary, disciplined party with support of the people. Western Marxists. Absolute banger. Absolute banger.
Do what he's done and tried to do in Portland and other cities, call the National Guard in?
You know, I think that his threats are inevitable. I also know that it's time we actually call this for what it is. This has nothing to do with safety. It has to do with intimidation. If it was safety, President Trump would be threatening to deploy the National Guard to the top 10 states of crime, 8 out of which are all Republican-led, but because of that party, he won't actually be doing so.
So you say you won't be intimidated. How do you stand up to it?
I think there's a number of ways. The first thing is you actually utilize the courts. You stop treating things as being law just by virtue of the fact that President Trump is saying them. You can look at the example of California, where you find the Attorney General, the Governor, and the Mayor of LA coming together, filing a lawsuit in opposition to the deployment of the National Guard. A federal judge found in their favor, and the Attorney General estimated that for every dollar they spent, they recovered more than $30,000 in funds that would have otherwise been seized by the federal government.
How about crime? Have you convinced Commissioner Tisch to stay on the police commissioner?
You know, I've made my decision to retain Commissioner Tisch, and I've done so because Eric Adams had stacked the upper echelons of the NYPD with incompetence and corruption. She came in, started to tackle that, deliver accountability, and reduce crime across the 5 boroughs. That is what we would build upon under a Mamdani administration, in addition to creating a Department of Community Safety to tackle the mental health and homelessness crisis head on.
You've made your decision. Has she made hers?
I am looking forward to continue to having conversations with her and to assembling a government of the best and the brightest to deliver on this agenda.
But, you know, last night you also said you wanted to reach out to New Yorkers who didn't vote for you. Probably highest on that list is Jewish New Yorkers. It looks like there was about a 30-point gap according to the exit polls, between you and former Governor Cuomo. How do you convince those voters that your vision of New York includes them and your victory is not a threat to them?
You know, I was on the M57 not too long ago, which is the slowest bus in New York City, 4.9 miles an hour. And I was seated next to a woman who introduced herself to me as a speech therapist. And she told me that she was Jewish, and she said that her daughter is a huge fan in phone banks from college and that she wasn't so sure. And I asked her to share, and she shared her thoughts about what it also means to be Jewish in New York City today and the scourge of anti-Semitism that often worries her, that she was trying to sell her apartment. A realtor told her to put away, in her words, the Jewish books on her bookshelf. And I told her that this was unacceptable, that we were fighting for a city that didn't just protect Jewish New Yorkers, but celebrated and cherished those same New Yorkers. And I'm looking forward to being the mayor for every single person that calls the city home and showing that my job is not to remake City Hall in my image, but rather in the image of struggling New Yorkers. And that means New Yorkers will find themselves and their struggles in people who have decision-making power across my administration.
You said a lot of that during the campaign, but it didn't seem to work with this group of voters. What more can you do now?
Well, I think there are a lot of voters for whom the trust comes from the actions that you actually take. Many have, have understandably been disappointed by politics and the promises that have been made by many before me. Now, my opportunity is actually to deliver as the next mayor of the city.
I was struck by a tweet that came out last night on X from Bill Ackman, who was one of your biggest opponents in the campaign. Billionaire, spent a lot of money trying to defeat you, but he did congratulate you and say he wants you to call on him to help New York. What are you going to call on him to do?
Well,
pay his fucking taxes, bitch.
I appreciated his words, and I think what I find is that there is a needed commitment from leaders of the city to speak and work with anyone who is committed to lowering the cost of living in the city, and that's something that I will fulfill.
Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you so much.
Magnanimous in victory. Remember, chat, magnanimity is the reward for the victorious. Mercy is the reward of the powerful. And that's what we fucking are. We're the powerful.
That young man, and if he's 34, I can call him a young man. He won like the greatest landslide probably in New York history. I mean, certainly in recent times. And he used that moment to say that he will fight anti-Semitism in New York and stand shoulder to shoulder with his Jewish brothers and sisters.
So again, I'm going to judge him not on what he says in a speech, but on what he does over time. This morning, and I will tell you, I've gotten so many calls from Jewish New Yorkers who are alarmed. Their kid was harassed in college. Their child was bullied in K through 12. Their synagogues vandalized. So here's what ADL is doing right now. If you are a Jewish New Yorker, we have your back, and we will hold Mamdani, Mayor-elect Mamdani, accountable. Look, it's not about politics. This morning we launched a tip line at adl.org NYC. So if you are Jewish and you experience anti-Semitism where you work or where you worship or where you...
Why are they still wearing this dumb yellow ribbon? You got your hostages back. What are you whining about? You know, your prisoners of war were released at a ceasefire deal. What is this yellow ribbon? You're just wearing the yellow ribbon forever? Please release the hostages that were released. And the hostages were released from what? Diplomacy. A peace treaty, you fucking disgusting genocidal maniac. A ceasefire the IDF is violating daily.
You live. We want to know so we can track it.
Well,
and look, I tell you,
there has been anti-Semitism in New York that we've talked about time and time again.
Yeah.
This isn't something new because he got elected last night. Will you work with him? Will you sit and talk to him? Will you have him be a part of this process?
He has said publicly that he will not work with the ADL and Jonathan Greenblatt. He said that, not me. Look, we're an institution. This organization was founded in 1913. We work with mayors and governors and presidents.
And why is he saying he won't work with you?
You have to ask him. But at the end of the day, yesterday, the Jewish community, Joe, the UJA and the ADL and the American Jewish Committee released a joint statement. And we are concerned because Jewish New Yorkers are alarmed. And what I can tell you is that, look,
Zohran Mamdani won the majority of Jewish votes. Next!
Right at the camera. If you are a Jewish New Yorker, we have your back. We launched the Mamdani Monitor this morning. We are simply going to track, again, not what he says in a single speech, but what he does. And at the end of the day, my goodness, I hope he is incredibly successful at fighting anti-Semitism. I hope he undertakes steps to keep Jewish New Yorkers safe.
Right.
But it is my job to make sure that every Jewish New Yorker isn't living in fear.
That's what I want you to do. At the same time, you obviously You want to judge him by what he's saying now and what he does moving forward, not a tweet in 2022 or 2023, right?
So we will judge him on the people he appoints, on the policies he implements, and on the programs that he launches. I want to know, what's he doing in the education system? Will it be fact-based or politicized for our kids?
Oh,
I want to know, will Jewish...
Something just happened at the Trump press conference.
Has been investing in America. We've been advancing science and creating high-value jobs. But today, we... Yeah.
Press out. Press. We're going. Thank you, press. Press. Right, guys. Cameras. We're done. Cameras.
I didn't see who it was. I didn't see who that was.
Historic step forward.
I don't know if I recognize his face. Gordon. He took the RFK Jr. health pack before he walked in. Double dose of adrenochrome, a double dose of what the fuck is the worm medicine? They kept hawking. Fuck, I can't remember. Ivermectin. Thank you, Chad. Oh no, I hope he's okay. Who's Gordon? Somebody find it out for me. I don't want to do research. I just saw someone collapsing on my other monitor, so I wanted to pull it over because it was in Trump's direction, but it turns out it's not Trump. Novo Nordisk executive Gordon Finlay. That's him. Okay, interesting. Because I think they're lowering the price of the weight loss drugs. All right, let's go back to this whiny bitch made. The ADL is going to we're watching you. We have a tip line. Guys, if Mamdani's mean, we have a tip line. Does anybody buy this shit? This anti-Semitism concern trolling bullshit? Does anybody believe this anymore? I think if somebody's throwing around the term anti-Semitism on someone on the left, honestly, that's a red flag on them. I don't know that I've legitimately seen left-wing anti-Semitism at all. Like literally ever. And the few times I've seen people be anti-Semitic, it's usually because they were palling around with actual open Nazis and they were already like, it was pretty clear that person was already sus as fuck. They weren't like an actual left-winger. They're like going on the Jake Shields show and shit. You're going on the Jake Shields show. Pretty clear that you're not a leftist, okay? If you're talking about Zog and shit, like people know that you're not a leftist, okay? That's a neo-Nazi trope. All right, where is the whiner? There he is.
Houses of worship and JCCs continue to be...
Haters at Discord call me an anti-Semite? Me? For being against Israel's settler colonial identity? That's like saying, like, the identity that the settler colonial identity that's being pushed by the state of Israel is similar to the identity of whiteness in America. Being against the creation of the identity of whiteness, which is what? It's an amalgam of various European, identities mashed together for the purpose of doing what? Settler colonialism and white supremacy. I'm against that. I'm against the concept of whiteness as an organizing principle. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Protected because they're under threat. I want to know, is he going to change the purchasing policies because of his ideological commitment to BDS, potentially hurting the pocketbooks of New Yorkers?
I gotta say, I gotta say that if you're pushing the idea that me or Denims or Vio or Hassan are anti-Semitic or Frogan, you are a fucking... I can't believe you're allowed to exist in any of those spaces. What the fuck? What the fuck? Holy shit, that's crazy.
Look, he won yesterday, and I saw the previous segment. Amazing numbers. People care about affordability in this city, and I get that. But as an organization that's seen...
It's the cowardly genocide supporters' way of attacking anti-genocide people without having to claim support. Well, I'm anti-Zionist. I don't believe in the settler colonial ideology of Israel. Israel tries to create this idea that they represent the Jewish people, right? I'm against, I don't believe that. I think that that's anti-Semitic. I don't think Jewish people that are born and raised in America or Europe or Asia or Africa or Latin America have any connection to Israel. That's fucking fascist. And I'm against that. Are they for that? What the fuck? That's like being for whiteness. There are people who think you believe Judaism is Huh? What? That has to be like DGG plants, right? Like, there's no fucking way that people actually believe that.
Levels of anti-Jewish hate that literally have broken records every year. My job is to keep them safe.
If you see anybody with a position of authority in any kind of like left-wing Discord or space saying that I'm anti-Semitic, you should send it to me. You know, or my mods. Just let me know.
We won't stop.
So I pushed him yesterday on BDS.
Yes.
He's espoused that policy for a long time. Will he bring it into the to the mayor's mansion? And he effectively said yes, a version of it.
A friend and streamer of mine took one of your clips way out of context. Oh, you should just tell me who it is.
Makes a distinction, as many people do, between Jews in New York and the state of Israel.
Why are you surprised? You were banned for misspeaking. Of course they wrote with that. I wasn't banned for misspeaking. That was just a clip. First of all, I do think that I misspoke there. And the context of the clip, it's very clear that I'm not saying Jewish people are demonic, okay? That's not what I'm saying. Even the clip of that is not there. I have a long explanation and apology video I posted on my YouTube, and I still don't like what I said, and I should have said it stupidly like that. But that controversy was literally astroturfed by Ethan Klein, Destiny, Asmongold, and then they mass reported me. You know, I got what amounts to a PR ban. No one actually believes that I'm anti-Semitic or support anti-Semitic ideas. If you believe that, no one actually thinks that.
What he's saying is, I take my...
No, I still think what I said was wrong, and the video, you should go back and watch it, and you could see that since I am a prominent pro-Palestinian content creator and advocate, especially on Twitch, I can't allow myself to use things like demonic when describing even, you know, Zionist identity, because that is close to old anti-Semitic tropes, and I should know better than that, because they're going to bad faith claim that I was being anti-Semitic. And that's a mistake that I shouldn't have made. If I had known it at the time, I would have corrected it immediately. It was just 11 months old, so I didn't even know that happened. It's a blunder, but it's in no way a sign of secret anti-Semitic views. Like, that's just nonsense.
Brothers and sisters, Jewish New Yorkers, separate from the policies of the state of Israel. BDS, he says, is meant to punish the state of Israel. How do you respond to that distinction?
Well, look, there's lots of room to criticize policies of the state of Israel. But what I worry about, what New Yorkers worry about, is when the guy gets assaulted for wearing a yarmulke and they hit him in the head and yell at him as a Zionist. Or when the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania is burned down by someone who claims Josh Shapiro has a policy on Palestine, which he doesn't. Or when two young Jewish people are...
I heard cynicism say that I go on anti-Semitic rants. What the fuck's wrong with cynicism? That guy's weird, huh? That guy's fucking weird, huh? It's so unusual that, like, the thing about streaming is that I stream because I love talking about politics, and I'm trying to use this space to obviously support myself, but also push politics. Like you guys saw, this cycle, I was one of Mamdani's earliest supporters. I was supportive of Francesca Hong. I was supportive of multiple other people, like two socialists that we supported and brought on our stream. They're now in a runoff in Jersey City. You know, like I have been trying to both create a political show for political education, discussion. You know, obviously I want to make money. Obviously I want to do well for myself. There's no question about that. I've always been transparent about that. But the idea, like, what is wrong with these people? You're not going to succeed by, you know, ripping me and Hassan down. You know that, right? You're not going to succeed by trashing and ruining the enthusiasm for Zohran Mamdani's win. That's not going to build the left. It's so weird.
Shot and killed outside the Jewish Museum by someone who yells Free Palestine. Or when an elderly person is firebombed in Boulder, Colorado. Like an 80-year-old woman by someone angry about Gaza.
We're all shocked, and we all find this important.
My ass was out there on the poll greeting for great Jake all day. I converted a voter at 7:59 p.m. on our way to the polls. Yes, you're why they're going to the runoff. Joel and Jake for Jersey City. Hell yeah.
I'm sure that the next mayor would say the same thing, wouldn't he?
You have to ask him.
Well, I think he has said the same thing. I don't know. I think you have to. I think you look at the fact that he has gone to one holiday service after another. He has talked to the Jewish community.
That's not exactly right. He went to an anti-Zionist synagogue, which is like going to the black breakout at CPAC and saying you understand African Americans. I mean, come on.
You're saying he hasn't talked to the Jewish community?
I don't know of a mainstream. Now, look, he has been to synagogues. He has Jewish people working for him for sure.
Right.
But if you look at the biggest institutions that represent Jewish New Yorkers, I have yet to see him engage with any of those. Now, my hope is that.
So basically, he defines real Jews as people that support Zionism and white supremacy, basically. That's anti-Semitic.
The mayor-elect will do so in the days and weeks to come. But in the meantime,
but you're not suggesting that he supports the firebombing in Colorado.
I never said
you're not suggesting that he supports the firebombing.
I never said that.
There is a lot.
Let me be clear.
There's a lot.
Losing Morning Joe. Losing Morning Joe. The ADL is toast, dude.
A lot of blurring and blending here, Jonathan. And you know, I love you, and you're on all the time, and I'm always a fierce defender of yours. But you seem to be like blurring a lot of things together, and then looking into that camera and say, "Call us. We're going to make sure that he doesn't support the."
I say to Jewish New Yorkers, call us if you feel unsafe. I say to Jewish New Yorkers, call us if you are harassed. And so,
Mike, stop. What? Here's what I do. Here's the promise I'll make to you, Marco. I'll stop telling the truth about your faves if they stop telling lies about me. How about that? I'll stop telling the truth about Marxism and Gremlo if they stop telling lies about me. How about that? How's that sound? Also, they could stop being sexist and stop harassing and stalking Vio whenever she goes in chats. How's that?
How about you calling his team, Mamdani's team? Or how about talking to people who may know him?
XBC Noob 123.
And you.
Let's see if that happens.
Reverend Al. Talk to Reverend Al. Maybe you guys can get together and have lunch and talk. Isn't that a more constructive thing to do?
Talk right here. That would be great.
Reverend Al will do it. Come here, talk right here.
But I won't be. Look, like I am willing to have conversations, hard conversations.
Right.
Because my job is to keep the community safe. But let me be clear, I'm not accusing him of those things. What I want to make sure is he doesn't create an environment where Jewish people are unsafe. He doesn't create an environment where globalizing intifada becomes a mantra.
And if he does,
that's funny, but you're not allowed to say stuff like that. Come on.
I do.
We'll be the first to call him out. Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, we should also note, polling last week, Quinnipiac poll said he had the support of about a third of Jewish New Yorkers, and that many had said that it was about policies of the state of Israel. That is why they resonate, because they were upset with what they saw in Gaza as well. So that was Joe sort of anticipated what I was going to say here, is that why not use this moment is just a chance to have an olive branch, to shake a hand, to have a conversation with him and his team.
Look, we criticized candidate Trump, and we have to work with the Trump administration. We've criticized candidate Mamdani, and we will have to work with him as the mayor. That's what we do at ADL. We don't play for the red team or the blue team. We're the umpire who calls balls and strikes.
What do you?
The balls or strikes. You're anti-Semitic if you oppose Israel's genocide. That's the ADL. And the ADL has been it is a foreign intelligence operation. And they stalked members of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa because they know that Israel is an apartheid state. So the ADL used to spy on anti-South African apartheid activists as well. And they were caught.
What do you want them to do?
Good question. I would like to see the mayor-elect live up to what he said last night in terms of being there for every Jewish New Yorker. So what does that mean? Confirm there will be no extremists in his administration. Confirm that he will not bring politics into the education system for K through 12 kids. I want to make sure.
Basically, I think from now on, going forward, if I see someone characterize Medicare for All without understanding that it was Ilhan Omar who wrote Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All policy as an intentionally intersectional policy, if I see someone bashing Medicare for All without understanding that fact, from now on, they're going on my do not interact list. Because Medicare for All is a specifically intersectional policy intended to disproportionately fund black and brown communities. That's what it is from the very beginning. And if you are too lazy to do basic research, I do not think you should be teaching people anything about American leftist policy.
The people, the programs.
Are you calling Ilhan Omar racist and non-intersectional?
introduces, like to keep Jewish New Yorkers.
Disproportionately is a hell of a way of saying sufficiently. I'm just saying that it's intentionally reparative in its policy. Like Medicare for All was part of the reparations policy. It's not just, okay, everybody gets covered and that's that. It's everybody gets covered and we go to the communities that have been underserved and we invest extra. We tax rich white people and we tax all rich people, no matter what their race is. We tax the bourgeoisie and we go to black and brown communities and we build hospitals and we build clinics and we open medical schools and we fund these communities. That's what Medicare for All is. It's not just we fund everybody and, oh, those communities don't have hospitals. So sad. That's not the policy. Mike, that New York Post article from yesterday is going for $50 to $70 at eBay. Who is the chatter that I told to buy me one?
CCs are maintained. Commissioner Tisch has done an amazing job. Let's keep that going. I want to make sure that he doesn't break up the task force of the NYPD that's kept Jewish people safe. And there have been mobs outside our Hillels and our synagogues. So basically, I'd like to see a plan. We asked for this during the campaign. We didn't see it. I'm hopeful that he'll do it now. All I care about is keeping the community safe at a time when, again, the acts of harassment and vandalism and violence are higher than they've ever been.
I think one of the things is when like black and brown people, when regular people don't know that Medicare for All is an intersectional policy and they come to you asking that question like, hey, Mike, I'm worried that Medicare for All is going to leave black and brown communities behind. Does that worry you? The answer is abso-fucking-lutely it does. But good news. Medicare for All is an intersectional policy intended to reparate harm that black and brown communities go for. That's part of the policy design. That's what I want to make you feel better. If you're a person from an underserved community, if you're a black and brown member of this community, I want you to know that you are in the forefront of my mind on Medicare for All policy. And you are also in the forefront of the mind of Zohran Mamdani, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Summer Lee, Rashida Tlaib, all these black women, these women of color, these socialists. Your healthcare is at the front of their mind. They are the Medicare for All creators, and they're creating the policy with you in mind. And I'm here to educate you on that fact. I'm not here to do propaganda for white leftists. I'm here to educate you about the policies that we support in the DSA left, okay? Now, if you have somebody who's up here and they're just spreading misinformation about Medicare for All, if they're spreading misinformation, if they're just asking questions and they're on this side of the camera, that's a problem for me. That's a problem for me. Because you are helping spread lies about Medicare for All. And I have to ask you, how do you not know this? It's 2025. Intersectional Medicare for All has been the policy for almost 9 years now. How the fuck are you a commentator and you don't know that? Either you're lazy or you're intentionally misinforming your audience. I need to know which it is. But when I see somebody like Marxism lying about Medicare for All, that bothers me.
So, Mike, all I want is clarity on what he will do. Not pablum and rhetoric and speeches, but real world action.
Let's see if we can get y'all. Let's talk to Reverend Al and see if we can get y'all together, first of all. And secondly, if there's any slippage in any of it, you come here on this show.
I know you will.
We'll talk about it.
I appreciate
it.
I appreciate it.
And one of the things that's really exciting, and I saw it on one of the YouTube channels that I really like, FD Signifier, who's a black socialist creator. Really appreciate his videos. He made a community post, and maybe it was on B-Sides. Hold on. He talked about how Zohran Mamdani won because he won the black vote. The best demographics for Zohran Mamdani was black men, where he got 56% of black men, 49% of black women. And this is, I saw other exit polls. I saw the New York Times also talked about black precincts. That's a single exit poll, so it probably underestimated. But it was black neighborhoods where Zohran Mamdani won the election. Black people showed up for Zohran Mamdani. So the question of like, why haven't socialists been able to make inroads in black communities? The answer is that's an old assumption you're making from 2016. Because in 2025, Zohran Mamdani, the leading electoral socialist, did just that because he cares. And so do I. That's why I support him. I wouldn't support him if he was leaving black and brown communities behind. And I know you guys wouldn't either. I don't have a opinion where I am looking down. Look at that. Mostly black residents, Mamdani plus 26. The only community he did better than was mostly public transport commuters. Renters, public transit unit users, and black residents were the base of Mamdani's win. He got 61% of the black vote, Cuomo 35. He absolutely won. So I need everybody to update our priors, and a lot of the reasons why this kind of argument made, and this is the context that maybe if you're new to politics, say you're under the age of 25 and you don't really remember Bernie Sanders runs, but one of the main ways that they attacked Bernie Sanders was to say, well, he isn't doing well enough with black voters, and they used that to imply that he was racist. They used that to imply he didn't care about black voters, and it was an empty smear. When in reality, black voters did trust and like Bernie Sanders, and they said so in polls, and they said they would have voted for him in the general election, and they were excited about him. So it was just a lie. It was a smear and a lie. So whenever I see that smear and lie continuing, it's odd. My contention is that you have a policy not coming to our community, talking to us about how you will lose. You guys wonder, how does a racist prick like Biden get more black support than Bernie? That motherfucker was out in community. I mean, I think what you need to understand is that Joe Biden was the vice president for Barack Obama, and Bernie Sanders was from Vermont. I don't think it was because of the policies. It's because Joe Biden was in the national communities organizing there for decades. You're not going to just make that up by a policy argument. That's very liberal. Joe Biden had trust in those communities built up over a decade of campaigning with working with Barack Obama. Like, just saying that Bernie Sanders' policies were not intersectional, that's just not true. They were. He just didn't have the experience and the relationship, and that's the problem with Bernie Sanders. That's his fuck up. It's not a policy problem. That is a community building problem. That's an organizing problem that you're not going to fix in 6 months. And I think I don't know what your position even is at this point. Like, I like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Now, Zoran Mamdani had 90,000 volunteers, and he was all over, and he integrated himself firmly in these spaces, and he listened to black people, and he campaigned to black people. That is what every leftist, if we don't win the black vote, we're going to lose. If black people don't trust your ass, you're going to fucking lose. And you'll deserve to lose. But if you are a leftist, you shouldn't be spreading misinformation about Mamdani. You shouldn't be spreading misinformation about Ilhan Omar. You shouldn't be spreading misinformation about Rashida Tlaib or AOC or especially Summer Lee. That's fucked up. Stop doing that. Stop spreading misinformation about a black woman and a socialist from Pittsburgh because it's some sort of like interpersonal advantage you're trying to get in Twitch streaming or whatever the fuck. I have a problem with that. That's not okay. Yes, I'm a white man, but I'm supporting black women's policymaking. And I'm telling you what their policymaking is, and it's fucked up for you to lie on them to get to me. What the fuck are you doing? That's misogynistic, that's racist, and that is opportunistic. Tell the truth about Ilhan Omar's leadership. Tell the truth about Summer Lee's leadership. It's fucking infuriating. And to see white men who used to be racists doing it's fucking gross. And we will only win if we have the trust of people of color. And we get the trust of people of color by having policies and going to their communities that address their problems and treating them as important as any white leftist or any educated, socialist. And that's what Zoran Mamdani did. And that's why he won black men by a landslide, by 26 points over Cuomo. Cuomo had been governor for what? 2 terms? His father was a 2-term governor. He has a bridge named after him. And Zoran Mamdani overturned that machine because he was integrated, because he had policies that took into account their concerns and spoke to their community with humility. ADK said that? Yeah, I love ADK. I don't think ADK is disagreeing. I think ADK would agree with me, right? I don't think ADK is disagreeing with me. I think ADK and I agree completely. I'm as frustrated about Bernie Sanders' failure to get into the black community than anyone. That's something that Bernie Sanders should have saw coming for 4 years, and he failed. That was part of why we lost. We have to learn from Bernie Sanders' failure, and it looks like Zoran is learning.
How do I work on planning with city agencies to fix the boardwalk at Metzler Point? Yeah. I think one of the first things is the fact that there are more than 10,000 vacant city jobs right now. And we have city agencies, and we even have funding for them to fill those jobs, but there's no interest from the top to actually ensure we have fully staffed agencies. So one of the first things that I will do is to ensure we use every single dollar that we have allocated to actually hire out every single one of those positions. And there will be certain agencies where we need to add additional staff lines. To the specificity of the boardwalk, I think it is one symptom of a larger issue, which is that we are asking so much of agencies that we have underfunded, understaffed, and it's no surprise to see the results of that.
And there's a lack of curb cuts.
A lack of curb cuts.
Yeah. Roosevelt Avenue.
On Roosevelt Avenue.
Okay, I have one. I want you to understand that, like, Zoran Mamdani is one of the best politicians I've ever seen. ADK, I think you and I have a disagreement. I think the disagreement that we have is you believe you could go into communities and earn their vote based on your policies alone. And that is wrong. Bernie Sanders didn't have the trust of black communities because he didn't have their trust. He wasn't in the, like, if you only show up to South Carolina right before the election, you're not going to earn their trust. That's why he was a failure. That's why Bernie Sanders was a failure. He didn't treat black and brown communities with the level concern and consideration he needed to. He was a failure at organizing them. That's why he lost. I'm saying you can't just lean into Ilhan writing the bill when Bernie failed at messaging. It doesn't matter who wrote the bill if he failed at activating us. Okay, so it seems like you're changing your original position. I think the original position was that, maybe this is not your position, but the original position I heard was Medicare for All is racist because it's not intersectional and it doesn't address black and brown communities' disproportionate lack of access to health care. Right? That was the original position, that Medicare for All universal programs are not intersectional. That was the original position. And then it changed to, actually, it turns out that Medicare for All was written by Ilhan Omar as an anti-racist policy, and it was intentionally intersectional the entire time. And then it changed to, don't say that Ilhan wrote it because Bernie failed to activate. That's a completely different argument. That's a movement of the goalposts. The first was Medicare for All universalist policies are actually bad, which then it turned out that that's not true. That wasn't right. And then we had a different position, which is Bernie Sanders failed to organize, which is what I agree with. So that I agree with. Step one is misinformation. Step one is wrong. By the way, people are allowed to be tricked. People are allowed to have voted for politicians that don't have good policies because we failed to campaign. That's our fault, not theirs. Anytime you say that it's, oh, no, you know, low information voters or whatever the fuck, that's loser shit. That's lib shit. That's like when liberals are yelling at us because Kamala Harris lost. Blaming the voters is loser shit. I never blame black and brown communities for not voting for Bernie Sanders. I blame Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the fucking loser that didn't have their trust. But why didn't they have their trust is an important thing. The first, you shouldn't lie about what his policies were. His policies were amazing. His policies were intersectional. His policies were directly tailored to make up for racial injustice. That's just a fact. Now, he failed to campaign it. He failed to earn trust. That's a different question. And you can have both thoughts in your mind. They're not contradictory. You could have somebody with really great intersectional policies, but fail to communicate and earn trust in those same communities. That's not their fault. That's our fault. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. They want to blame the voters. Not their fault. It's our campaign's fault. And that's, I think, ADK that's what you're trying to say. And part of our jobs, and this is my point, that has nothing to do with ADK. And anybody, if you said ADK is a lib, you should apologize right now. Anybody who said that ADK is a lib, apologize right now, or you'll get it banned, or you'll get timed out for a week. Just apologize, because he's right about that. Now, if you are a political commentator, and you're saying that Medicare for All is not intersectional, you're a liar, or you're misinformed. Now, I'm speaking very, very frankly, because it's important that you understand that it's either misinformation, which is spread by liberals who are trying to discredit the left by saying it's racist and white. That's one of the ways that Hillary Clinton discredited Bernie Sanders, is she said it was white male leftism. It was Bernie bro. That's what she did in 2016 to attack Bernie Sanders. If you're spreading that lie, then you're doing Hillary Clinton work. You're doing misinformation. That's not okay. If you're just misinformed, I want to teach you. What are your questions? What are you confused about? And I'm not saying this from a position of like, I'm the knower of everything and I'm better than you or whatever. It's just, I actually did study the policies and I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not just going off of Twitter posts. Okay. I'm going off of actually reading the shit, looking at the bills, reading Ilhan Omar, supporting her since she came into Congress. You know, it's important that you understand the differences between the two. And the reason why I get so frustrated is when I see people who think they're leftists repeating Hillary Clinton talking points and basically saying, Mike's a Bernie bro, Hassan's a Bernie bro, but leftistly, that's fucking worthless.
Train? Yeah. Okay. There is a lot of this also that comes back to what is our vision for the streetscape? You know, we don't seem to have a coherent vision for making sure that our city's streets, curbs, sidewalks are actually living up to the way that New Yorkers use them. It's been a long time since we've had that kind of approach. For me, I think one of the most important agencies to that end is going to be DOT, just in regards to how we approach the streets as a whole.
How do we address the black churches, which were the source of revolutionary politics, have become a large part, a tool of the establishment? Listen, I am not a black man. I don't know if you noticed. So it's not my place to put, you know, to speak on this. I've been organizing in black churches and liberation theology churches for decades. And I disagree with the conception that the black church is some sort of monolith, that I think it's racist. And the other thing I would say is I'm deeply disturbed by the way that white liberals, and some especially, but white leftists as well, try to treat black people as if they're a monolith. Black people are just as diverse and different as white people. They just generally have better politics objectively. In fact, the most progressive group in America is black people, by far. So I think pointing your finger at the black church as some sort of like problem is absolutely wrong. The question you should be asking is, why aren't you more involved with your community? Do you know more about the dynamic between Bernie and Jim Clyburn? I am not a Jim Clyburn fan. I think Jim Clyburn is actually corrupt. And there's really, I mean, I don't want to get, that's what it is. Jim Clyburn is corrupt. And there is corruption within community organizing spaces. Like this is, and there, that's what Cuomo, you know how Cuomo was hiring all those people to campaign for him? How many times did you see a TikTok of somebody said, oh, I talked to a Clyburn guy I talked to a Cuomo guy and he said he's voting for Zorod, but he's doing campaigning for Cuomo for money. Like that is a form of, you know, inter-community campaigning where it's like the left is weak at, you know, the left tends to rely on volunteers, whereas the conservative Dems, they take billionaire money and they pass it out in communities and they hire people. And that, you know, is a material interest of them to support those people. That's what's happening. It's that's what the machine is. The machine is patronage. It is, I will give you money to support me politically. So how do we fight a patronage machine? Well, we have to strip corruption. That's how you fight patronage machines. And, you know, some churches, some community groups they are part of that patronage network. So to break into the patronage network, you have to offer an alternative.
How do I work on planning with city agencies to fix the boardwalk?
Zoran is such a king. I don't know how it's possible for one election to give me a variety of I told y'all opportunities. Black people broke harder for Mamdani as I said they would. The black men leading the pack while also still having more Republican votes than black women is going to make for an interesting breakdown. My guess is older black women broke much harder for Cuomo due to establishment ties, and younger black men are much more amenable to progressive platforms compared to other groups of men. But that's without seeing any data, but I trust when I see it, I'm going to talk my shit. He's right. I completely agree with this analysis. Completely agree. This is the analysis. This is why you need to have creators who have been in these spaces for a long time and are not just speaking out of their ass. And that's why I really recommend I might not agree with everything FD Signifier says, but I respect him. And his analysis is incredibly important to understand.
I worked Republican campaigns all throughout this cycle, and I'm a registered Republican. And what? I vote Democrat every time, though. Bitch, why the fuck would you be out here working for the ops? Because the ops got money to spend, and they gonna spend that money to get what the fuck they want. They're going to do it regardless. That entire Trump campaign, I was dressed as MAGA, talking to MAGA. Not only was I trying to get a full understanding of their perspective, but they're only going to listen to you if you are them. I was able to sway so many more fucking people as a Republican who voted Republican and got a story that I voted Republican, and they listened to me. That entire time I was out there like, yeah, I can't wait to vote for this guy, even though he's going to be coming for SNAP benefits and Medicaid. But I'm healthy. You feel me? I exercise. I eat good. I ain't got nothing to worry about. I don't even depend on Medicaid. I'm good. They be looking at me like, huh? I'm talking to an old person. I be like, damn, you know, like, I can't wait to vote for him. Too bad he gonna cut Social Security, but I don't care. I'm a millennial. I heard that it ain't even gonna be no Social Security about time I get up there. So I'm gonna vote because it don't affect me. They be sitting there looking like I'm on Social Security. Right, bitch, only bring this up to people that I believe will be on Social Security. I can't wait to get rid of them migrants. All the migrants gonna be gone. However, they do be paying into the system. I was really out.
Ladies and gentlemen, like, this may be the best, one of the funniest bit TikToks I've ever seen. I don't know if it's real or not, but it's fucking good. God damn, is she good at this. This is such a, like, if it's real, that's fucking hilarious. If it's a bit, this is fucking amazing. Either way, this rules.
They're doing the Lord's work, and here's that picture that I promised you. Taking pictures in front of these flags and really having them believe. What the fuck? Like, all they had to do was take a look at my social media. But, like, yeah, I was going to pay $86 an hour to be out there. And then I was getting $45 per email. And I was just cranking up. It was just so much money to me.
No, that's too much. That's too much. I would have believed 35, like, an hour. 86. I mean, maybe for Black Republicans, there that is so rare that maybe they give you extra. I don't know, but there's no fucking way.
And they depend on people to go out there for your true, free, sheer will and do this because you truly want change. And I go out there, collect my money and do my dirt because I truly want change. And if anybody got a problem with anything I said, please
tag me. Legendary bit. Legendary bit. Legendary. God, she's so cool. Fuck, she's so cool. $80 an hour for marketing is a going rate? Really? Wow. Sorry we got off on this track, but I wanted to have a frank conversation about socialism and campaigning. And I think one of the things that we on the left have to never do is blame the voters. The moment you start blaming the voters, that means you're out of ideas to change their mind. It means you are a fucking loser. And if I ever see a leftist or a white leftist especially, but any leftist blaming black people and going like, oh, they voted against their interests and they're lower information, you're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. If anything, black voters are some of the highest information voters I've ever met. White people are the low information fucking voters. White people that watch MSNBC, that's low information. Black voters are the highest information voter. How do I know? Talking to black voters over the years. If I was going to pick a random voter and that random voter personally knows the politicians, it's much more likely if I picked a black woman who's 70, who votes every time, I bet you she knows the politicians. I bet you she physically has shook the hand of her congressperson, especially in Democrat seats. Maybe not in Republican seats, but in Democrat seats. They are the highest information voter. And they probably agree with you on the policy. They probably are like, I support Medicare for all. That's a good policy. However, how are you going to get that passed? That's the reality. So you have to, if you're going to talk to an older black woman about politics, you better know your fucking shit because she knows her shit. Maybe, if anything, she's a little bit more cynical than you. Now, this is just what my experience is. It's not every black person or anything. She's just more cynical that white people aren't going to vote to give her health care. That's your hurdle. She's like, every single time people campaign on this shit, white people fight against giving healthcare or programs to help black people. And she's right about that. That's your problem. So, you know, anytime I see a white leftist say stuff like that, I'm like, that's because you don't have any faith in yourself that you could conversate with people, that you can change minds, that you can work into communities. You just want to tweet. Thank you for supporting the stream with the Prime. Appreciate you. This came up because of a bad faith usage of saying Medicare for all. Well, I mean, like, the idea that Medicare for all is not intersectional is just wrong. It is. I wouldn't support it if it wasn't. If Medicare for all wasn't intersectional, that's not the Medicare for all. I would not support it. Period. If it wasn't saying we're going to spend more money in underserved communities, then I wouldn't support it. According to the New York Times voter analysis, Zoran grew support most among areas with more black voters from the primary to the general. Am I misspelling underperformance? Did I misspell this? Oh, I said preformance. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I'm legitimately stupid. Okay, I did misspell it. I do that shit all the time. Yeah. Spelling is hard. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep rolling, chat. Let's keep rolling. I'm sorry if I seemed like I was getting like heated, but there's nothing I hate more than white leftists saying, "Oh, black voters are low information voters." That is like, that sends me into a rage. It absolutely pisses me off whenever I hear any white leftist say something that stupid. It pisses me off beyond belief. The other thing that pisses me off is saying that Medicare for all is not intersectional. That also, so those are two of the most annoying things you hear on the left that are totally wrong. So those things piss me off a lot.
You want to know what's wild? Bro, Zoran got the W. That's so crazy. But you want to know what's wild? Back in the spring, polls had black voters leaning Cuomo by almost 50%. You remember that? All right, look at this. In June, during the primary, neighborhoods like, Flatbush, Brownsville, East New York, all blue, right? Mostly Cuomo. But by November, those same areas went from Mamdani up 20 to 30 points in the exact same neighborhood. So East Flatbush went plus 26. Canarsie went plus 25. East New York plus 22. This got to be one of the biggest flips I've ever seen in New York City politics. All right, so you got to be asking, what changed between May and November? It was all organizing. So you have folks that have been out there, since spring, right? In our neighborhoods, affinity groups. We Grew Here is one of them. Black-led mutual aid organizations. You got to give it up to DSA, right? Working families parties, knocking on doors, talking to people, young voters who showed up in the primary, right? Especially like black voters, young black voters.
In Sweden, we have free healthcare for all, and it's still racist, ableist, and transphobic. Absolutely true. And even if we got my version of Medicare for all, there would still be those realities would still exist because the medical industry has racism and sexism and misogyny in it, right? So, and transphobia and ableism. So we would still need, we can't, that program isn't going to necessarily fix our entire society, but it's going to be geared toward trying to make those issues better. That's the entire point of what intersectionality is. It's not expecting one policy to be a panacea, but to acknowledge the systemic biases and problems so that we address them. And that's the only way I would ever support the policy.
Overrepresented in the primary. We started talking to, our parents, our uncles, our aunties, church elders. By the general election, those conversations, it shifted the map. And we can't really forget the backdrop. Trump back in the headlines, right? Snap cuts, the government shut down. You got ICE doing crackdowns on migrants. And Cuomo's name is tied all up into it, right? And New Yorkers weren't playing that, especially black New Yorkers, because when your rent is due, your benefits, and your dignity are on the line, you vote for the future you actually want to live in. So, what happened in Brooklyn wasn't just about Zoran. It was about black voters turning data into power. So this is what happens when we organize and when we talk to each other and when we don't wait for permission to lead. And so here's a lesson that I learned from, my black and brown comrades while I was organizing. You can't just celebrate the win. You got to build on that. You know what I mean? Join your local DSA, link with Working Families Party, support your black-led tenant associations, whatever, mutual aid groups, because really this is our government. And the only way to keep it ours is to stay organized. Yo, bro, Zoran got the W. That's so crazy.
And part of this is, as I said before, one of the main impediments from the left was plausibility. We made a lot of big promises, but when Zoran won the primary, when he got young white men to vote for Zoran, when Zoran went to those communities, it was plausible. He could say, I got a lot of white people behind me. This is a multiracial working class movement, and he had more credibility. So when those conversations were happening, it wasn't just pie in the sky. That's why he was able to change their minds, because black voters are the most progressive voting bloc in America. That's just a fact. And so that is something that you all need to know. That's what you all need to understand, is that if you care about winning power, progressives and leftists have got to be in every community. And our greatest potential area of growth are in those black and brown communities. And I want to give you an example when I'm talking about, when I talk about plausibility and credibility. In 2008, black voters were overwhelmingly behind Hillary Clinton over Barack Obama. I'll say that again. In 2008, black voters were overwhelmingly behind Hillary Clinton over Barack Obama. Until what? Until Barack Obama won the Iowa caucus with a bunch of white people. And then suddenly, black voters switched over to Obama. Once it became plausible that the progressive promises of Barack Obama had the support of a cross-racial coalition, black voters flocked to Barack Obama, and he absolutely crushed Hillary Clinton. That's something that progressive voters and socialists need to recognize, is that if you want the support of communities of color who depend upon government and depend upon their local community aid organizations that is currently in place, those programs whose children are in public schools, then you need to have credibility that you can actually win. And that is the key. They're progressive. They're behind you on all the policies. They'll like you, but they need you to show how you're going to actually achieve it. Practicality, pragmatism, and actually being in the community. That is where the left has been weak. And that's where Zoran is improving. And so, like, ultimately, I am just one white guy. I mean, don't take my word as gospel. Go out in communities, show humility, learn from people, and if the left wins the majority of black votes, we will win power. So these communities are incredibly important, and they will lead us. All right, let's have some fun.
AOC posted this to a TikTok last night. I was surprised to see it. I thought it was another part of my algorithm that was showing up on the feed. But this is Stavros Halkias, the Stavi Show, and
Stavi Show's amazing. By the way, I just gotta say, it's like really my mood elevator every week. I love Stavi.
You're trying. Okay, wait. I have a chatter. I've got a chatter that I've got to call you out. I have a video from the Majority Report, and we are watching Stavros being posted by AOC, and you want me to stop that video to watch David Hogg on CNN? That's legitimately what you want? You want me to watch David Hogg over AOC posting Stavros? I'm going to watch it. I'm just saying, that's the timing. That's where you choose. That's the timing.
Stavi's world. I can't believe he's just like getting all this prominence on the left. I mean, it's great. It's great.
Some great political analysis here from the son of immigrants.
Yeah.
It's very funny that some people might call Zoran a Nepo baby because his mom
makes. By the way, do you see the
indie.
post? It's AOC. This is an AOC post. AOC is Cometown posting.
He films.
Dirtbag leftism is back, baby. Dirtbag leftism is back. My one worry about AOC is she would go the annoying, like, woke scoldy way. That's the only way AOC would lose. If AOC was annoying and woke scoldy and lame, she would lose. But if she's Cometown posting, she'll win a goddamn landslide.
Whereas, like, Andrew Cuomo's father's name is on a bridge. He was the governor. What are we talking about? I'm Stavros Halkias. I'm a comedian. I'm from Baltimore originally. I've been in New York City now for 10 years, 10 of those years in Astoria. Living in an affordable New York City is really important to me. I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate to be pretty successful in my career, and money hasn't been a problem the last few years. Although, who knows? But I grew up working class. My parents struggled a lot of the time. And a candidate that is dedicated to making things more affordable for everyday people is exactly the kind of candidate that I want to support. Andrew Cuomo's disgraced. He sexually harassed his staff after he was basically thrown out of being governor. He felt entitled to being mayor of New York City. And I think that's a big problem with the Democratic Party in general. You have a lot of these corporate Democrats. They've lost touch with an average person. I don't think it's a coincidence that right now in this moment, an unknown assemblyman has become a political phenomenon. It's not about Zoran. Zoran's, look, I like the guy. He's a nice guy. But it's the fact that he's speaking to the concerns of working class people in a way that I think neither party has done for decades at this point. Zoran and the policies that he is talking about, the affordability issues that most people are really worried about. They're worried about making their rent. They're worried about health care. That has really galvanized people. That's really given them a lot of hope. In a time where, frankly, it's gotten a little scary, gotten a little hopeless when you see what the Trump administration is doing.
Good for
I really appreciate the "it's not about Zoran" thing. That
chat. AOC is Cumtown posting. Yes, it's good policies. Yes, everything he's saying is amazing. But AOC is Cumtown posting. We're gonna win. Where is the Stavros post? Oh, there it is.
It's very funny that some people might call Zoran a Nepo baby because his mom makes indie films, whereas like Andrew Cuomo's father's name is on a bridge. He was the governor. What are we talking about? I'm Stavros Halkias. I'm a comedian. I'm from Baltimore originally. I've been in New York City now for 10 years, 10 of those years in Astoria. Living in an affordable New York City is really important to me. I've been very lucky, I've been very fortunate to be pretty successful in my career, and money hasn't been a problem the last few years, although who knows. But I grew up working class. My parents struggled a lot of the time. And a candidate that is dedicated to making things more affordable for everyday people is exactly the kind of candidate that I want to support. Andrew Cuomo's disgraced. He sexually harassed his staff after he was basically thrown out of being governor. He felt entitled to being mayor of New York City. And I think that's a big problem with the Democratic Party in general. You have a lot of these corporate Democrats. They've lost touch with an average person. I don't think it's a coincidence that right now in this moment, an unknown assemblyman has become a political phenomenon. It's not about Zoran. Zoran's, look, I like the guy, he's a nice guy, but it's the fact that he's speaking to the concerns of working class people in a way that I think neither party has done for decades at this point. Zoran and the policies that he is talking about, the affordability issues that most people are really worried about. They're worried about making their rent. They're worried about health care. That has really galvanized people. That's really given them a lot of hope. In a time where, frankly, it's gotten a little scary, gotten a little hopeless when you see what the Trump administration is doing. They're kind of behaving like they don't think democracy matters. I think the only thing that can stand in its way is the will of millions of people joined together. And I think Mamdani winning is exactly the kind of grassroots, people-powered campaign that the Democratic Party should be copying. We're not asking for much. We're asking for working class people to be able to afford living in the city that they've helped make great. Go vote for Zoran. Vote for Zoran now.
I don't know why this is like stuttery, but guys, gals, non-binary pals, we're winning. This is what winning feels like.
Yo, I'm trying to get out. I'm pulling the ladder up. I'm the last chopper out of Saigon.
Yeah, that's great.
As far as I'm
it's nice your honesty. Everybody thinks that like people move from like one end and they want everybody they're leaving to come with, and it's the opposite.
I'm superior to them. Get out of here. I get out. We swing back to like, because if you look at this, look,
not you necessarily,
not his ass, but everybody else. No, but you know, this hairline isn't in a lot of movies these days. You know what I mean? Like when that Johnny Depp movie, they made him bald. You know what I mean? They're putting Colin Farrell in suits, like Frankenstein. He's just the hot 6'8", and it's like there's some in Frankenstein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's probably waiting, and when he heard they were making it, he's like, finally.
Here we go.
Here we go. Just staring at the phone. And then his agent was like, it's down to you and Elordi. He's like, I got this.
They're a favor. They must owe him a favor. Getting the top two. I do hope. Let's get some weird teeth. Let's get some bad hairline.
I love it. Let's represent.
He's so right. He's so fucking right. I hate looking at like. That's part of what made Andor so good, is you had really beautiful people, but there was also some normal looking guys in there. You need character actors. Bring back character actors. When the ugliest guy in your show is Sam Cedar, your show is that's fucked up.
The cult of personality stuff. I mean, he's obviously so charismatic, but that's not the point.
No.
Yeah.
And Zoran has been very, very explicit about that in the entire way. And I have to say, at the event.
No, Sam Cedar was not in. Okay, chat. What television show is Sam Cedar famous for being in? Besides Bob's Burgers. And the chatters know. The correct answer is Sex in the City. Correct. Samuel Cedar. Sex in the City. He played a character who used to be a New Yorker who moved to LA and then got wrapped up in the LA superficiality culture. Sex and the City. Deep cut.
So on today's episode of Sam Could Have Been Somebody, this is actually something that I still get stopped in bars over these next clips. And it's always by women because I actually played Letterman Lou on season 3, episode 44 of Sex in the City, Sex in Another City. Yes, it was shot in LA. I was actually living in New York at the time and coincidentally happened to be out in LA. So here it is. Of course, we have some of my office mates are pretty excited about this. Right, ladies?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's hit play.
Lou asked Miranda to meet him at the Flowing Tree. Surrounded by all these tan, fit, happy people, she knew she would recognize pale, chubby, unhappy Lou immediately.
Miranda?
Oh, my God!
Do I look that different?
Well, let's just say it's a good thing you still wear that hat.
Oh, please. If you ever see me in a Lakers hat.
I know. Shoot you.
Exactly.
You look amazing.
Thanks. Want to grab a drink?
Oh, please. Yes, let's go. The sight of all these bleached teeth is blinding.
No, I mean, grab something here. This place is known for its green tea infusions.
Please, infusions? Could LA be any worse? Take off that hat. I'm going to shoot you right now.
Actually, I really like it here.
Hang on. What happened to the guy I used to share beers with and make fun of happy people?
I know. The thing is, I think I'm one of those happy people now.
That's my favorite part. I love the character because it's completely not Sam Cedar. It's the opposite of Sam Cedar in every way. This is like Dark Cedar. This is what if you see Sam Cedar like this, you've fallen through the time stream and you've ended up on an alternate planet.
Wow. I mean, good for you.
I know it sounds crazy, but I think I was just supremely unhappy in New York. I mean, I came out here and I let a lot of that old toxic anger go. I take things slowly, get outside. LA agrees with me.
Miranda realized she was the one standing out in that room. She was the only angry New Yorker for miles.
Let's go for a hike.
All right, wow.
See that? The ladies love Sex in the City. And wait to... Colin, what are you doing?
I'm a fan.
Well, and now is the... actually, this is... this next scene, I guess the coup de grace, if you will, of my two-scene arc on Sex in the City is extremely well known. People know me as the guy who I'm not going to say you're going to have to watch. Ladies?
While I was going native with Keith, Miranda and Lou went back to New York, or at least to the New York strip steak.
Oh, this looks...
Oh my God, do I miss the smell.
So you were saying?
You should really read Zen and the Art of Modern Living. It is so calming.
I'm still trying to get used to bath beats.
You are so New York.
Don't you miss it?
I get to write about it every day.
This is not New York, it's a soundstage. 20-somethings with tiny salaries don't live in huge Soho lofts painted bright colors. It's totally fake.
I think 40 million viewers would disagree with you on that.
Is something wrong with your steak?
No,
What are you doing?
I'm tasting my food.
Why aren't you swallowing your food?
Do you think I look this good by eating?
Miranda realized Lou hadn't found inner peace. He'd found an eating disorder.
Are you serious?
Miranda, don't put your toxic shit on me. This is fucking LA, okay? You have no idea what kind of pressure I'm under here.
Who cares what you look like? You're a writer.
For a hit show. Trust me, no one wants to hire a fat story editor.
All Miranda wanted to do was rip that Knicks hat off his head, because no self-respecting New Yorker would ever spit out that good a steak.
Jesus fucking Christ. Now I've lost my appetite.
I'll tell you what, I've been stopped in bars as recently as a month ago over that Sex in the City thing. And I still get almost $32 a quarter and residuals from that show every time it plays on somebody's DVD, or I don't know how they figure it out. But so I'm doing quite well with that.
Oh, the deep cuts, man. Him pretending to be an LA writer with an eating disorder. Fuck, man, that's great. The young Sam Cedar.
We had over. There was about it was probably about close to 3,000 people, and maybe.
And by the way, chat, Cynthia Nixon, the actress that he was in that scene with, is another far leftist. She's another. She tried to primary Cuomo. She led a major far leftist. Yes, I say that as good. Far leftist is good. That's a compliment from me. Max left. Oh no.
The September of 2009. What's that? Oh, September 2009, and there was one element, and I can't remember what it was. Obama had promised to put in some type of, like, I think bankruptcy forgiveness or cram down. Maybe it was a homeowner cram down in a bill, and he didn't do it. And by September of 2009, some of us were like, this is going sideways. This is going sideways. And then it really did.
Oh my God, she posted this on her Instagram. I'm a Miranda and I'm voting for Cynthia. I love this young man so much. He is a miracle of nature, and I would follow him to the ends of the earth, and I almost have, from conspiring in Albany for Uber and Lyft drivers, and is not on our dime bill, to supporting him and yellow cab drivers in their hunger strike outside City Hall, to the steps of our nation's capital to demand a ceasefire, to taking out my bullhorn to rally support for his bold and seemingly impossible bid for mayor. He is not my child, but he has all the earmarks of a child of lesbians, a deep appreciation for women, note his transition team, a desire to right the world's wrongs, and no muss, no fuss, get it done attitude. Maybe that's because his parents are such incredible miracles of nature themselves. Folks, this is just the beginning. Zoran is going to need our support every step of the way to move the mountains he has set out to move, and he's going to need all of us to do it. I woke up this morning with a hopeful, fresh new outlook on the world, and we've only just begun. Buckle up. We're going for a ride, and you're not going to want to miss. Here they are, hunger striking for ceasefire in Gaza. Biden, you are starving God. Like, do you see what I mean? I would never, ever, ever steer you wrong, chat.
Toppled a political dynasty.
Digby was very much on it in that year because she had flagged that Obama kept talking about entitlement reform. And so Obama, tacked to the right, and they had disempowered what existed of, like, the people power. And Mamdani is doing the opposite. He's going to keep it because people are that is going to be in his back pocket when he goes to Albany. And it's also reflective of an ideological difference. So, I mean, like, it appears as a tactical difference, but it really is tied into an ideological difference. If you are looking for more democracy, which means less concentration of wealth, less concentration of political power, more involvement and autonomy, or I should say, autonomy in the, or sovereignty, I should say, within the context of our economy, and you necessarily need the people to be engaged. It's consistent.
Is the New York Times reporting of Mamdani and his team shutting down a Jeffries primary actually true or bullshit? Everything is bullshit right now.
If you don't necessarily believe that, if you, like Obama, believe that, like, Robert Rubin and Geithner were masters of the universe and they know what they're talking about, and at the end of the day, there is a hierarchy for a reason, and he never ultimately had an issue with that because he knew how to work that hierarchy, then it's just a tool that you can discard. In some instances, you want to discard because you don't want it to work against you. Let's go to Donald Trump, because I think the other part of this is
I'm looking forward to this, the men who are taking this lesson away, which is that 81% of young women voted for Mamdani in NYC, 80% for Cheryl in New Jersey, and 78% for Spanberg in Virginia. And Scott Adams says, I found the problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I do think that, like, there are not that many left-wing women in the space. Like, I don't know, the Democratic Party should probably get on board with the fact that there are left-wing women, young women, I think, are at the core of this. It's not just young men who are very left-wing at this point and are like driving some enthusiasm within the base.
I think women were more sensitive about the Gaza stuff too. If maybe someone could correct me on that point, but that's what I remember from last year.
I mean, mothers. I just anecdotally, I also think the Miss Rachel stuff had a really big impact on like young mothers.
Jennifer Welch.
Yeah, I mean that's right. I'm kind of losing my train of thought.
Trump is gross.
Yeah.
And I mean, Trump is gross.
He's a rapist.
Yes.
I mean, and also for that support with Mamdani, it turns out like Me Too didn't, there's not the Me Too backlash for young women. Like they still don't want to support a rapist or not rapist, sexual assaulter like Andrew Cuomo.
What's also fascinating about the Mamdani race, and then we'll move on, is if you go back and look at that video he did in the wake of the Trump, I think we played it the other night, right? We played it last night?
Yeah, where he goes out and asks people why.
He goes out and asks people why they voted for Trump in his district. And you could go back, they edited it at the time.
Listen, Mamdani definitely was very strong with men. There's no doubt about that. But that's a good sign. Because historically, that's where the Democrats have really fallen off, is with men. If he reverses that, women aren't going to the Republicans. Like that's landslide territory.
Presumably to reflect what was really there. I can't imagine he was like, we're going to cut out this issue about
James O'Keefe style.
Yeah. Let's cut out the thing where people are upset about the idea that healthcare would be free, and just keep in the other stuff. You look at that video that he produced it over a year ago now, or probably about a year.
A week after the election.
A week after the election. So yeah, about a year ago. And his entire campaign was developed in that week.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he had these ideas beforehand, but they basically...
Yeah, it's a strategy Maoist came up with called the mass line, where if you're a socialist, you don't just come up with a platform and go and yell at people what that is. You go and talk to them and you say, what are your problems? How are you suffering? And then you construct a policy from there. I mean, really, it's Leninist. That's what Lenin did. That's why, I mean, the Bolsheviks' campaign was peace, land, bread. Like, literally. That was their campaign slogan.
Basically said, affordability, Gaza. Affordability, Gaza. And he basically built the campaign around that, which... on one hand, sounds like, oh, that's a pretty obvious thing to do. And on the other hand, sounds like completely revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. You went out and asked your constituents and literally just did what they asked for? That's weird. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12.
And it's so, I'm just so happy to see all the best people winning. It feels so good, man. How do we communicate to the incredibly poisonous attitude among liberals who think the far left were the problem the whole time? The answer is that stuff is they're just focused on the presidential campaign that they lost because they have nothing more to say. Because if you have nothing to say, if you don't believe in anything, you could just infinitely yell about how it's the far left's fault. No, it's Kamala's fault for not supporting, not supporting the ceasefire. It's something that you could just keep repeating, and so you don't have to talk about anything substantive. And I will tell you, it's going to go away as time goes on. If people are still talking about that shit, they're fucking boring. That's boring. Do I think the shutdown will end before the end of the year, or are we cooked? I think Trump is scared.
So the Wall Street Journal editorial board argues in a new piece, Trump really was on the ballot, and it reads in part, quote, President Trump on Wednesday blamed Tuesday's Republican election defeats on the government shutdown and the fact that he wasn't on the ballot. If he really believes this, the GOP is heading for bigger problems in 2026. Mr. Trump was on the ballot, not literally, but nonetheless, as the main motivating force behind a dominating Democratic turnout. The electorate gave Mr. Trump another term because he pledged to lower prices and raise real incomes. But his economic record is mixed at best. Meantime, he pursues polarizing distractions from his mandate, such as ordering the National Guard into cities that don't want it for lobbying for indictments of his political opponents.
I just realized something. We are 4 hours into the stream and I forgot to shill. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting it by subscribing. The only way I can continue to run ad-free political coverage is if you support the stream. Because this is such an intensely political stream and I talk about some of the most contentious issues on our radar, that means I cannot run ads. And if I try to run ads, I get in trouble. So the only way I can support this stream is through your direct support. That means subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. So please consider supporting our stream. I really do appreciate it. It's the only way we can continue to create this content. And, you know, chat, whenever you support this stream, you piss off the worst people on the planet, on the left and on the right. Left, right, and center. I didn't realize this, but apparently my ops, whether they present themselves as left wing or right wing, they are intensely looking at the number of subscribers I have. So every single one of you that subscribes is pissing off my enemies. Like there is, like if you are like, you know, I want to piss off Ethan Klein today, gifting me a sub does that. If you want to piss off sexist leftists, gift me a sub today. You want to piss off the far right or centrists, gift me a sub today. Every single one of them mauls, and I mean mauls, when they see I get subscribers. Judge me by my enemies and piss them off by subscribing. And anytime they see my sub count dip, they don't understand that the way subscribing works is it goes up and down over the course of the year. It's, you know, whatever, it happens. Sometimes you have really great months, sometimes less so. But every time they see it dip, it heartens them. So don't let those scumbags feel good about themselves. Help crush their morale. Crush their morale by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. And remember, chat, there's a lot of people here working paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just regular people struggling to make ends meet. When you gift a sub, you help those people get access to the VODs, the clipping, and more importantly, the emotes that they could use site-wide. That helps the stream grow. Because every time somebody sees DSAL, every time they see DSAFP, that's my favorite. My favorite emote is DSAFP. DSAFP was made by Feed Me Don't Kill Me, who is the artist that was harassed by Rhizome. So I've been a patron and supporter of Feed Me Don't Kill Me for years. He made DSA Free Palestine, and he was harassed by Rhizome and called an art thief and called an AI user. I can tell you right now, there ain't a stitch of AI in DSAFP. Everyone love and support Feed Me Don't Kill Me. He is the king. They are a king, I should say. DSA channels are funny for Prime subs. Hell yeah, brother. He also made VOFP. Well, hang on, let's hear out Phoebe's side of the story, though. What? You mean Feed Me Don't Kill Me? I'm a boomer. I never use emotes, but I'm going to start trying from now on. Beginning with DSAFP. Okay, it was DSAFP. DSAFP. Anyway, chat, thank you so much for supporting the stream. We have a hype train going on. The top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the hype train conductor badge right now. That's a golden locomotive next to your name. The chat badge you get to keep. The noob Tabor has 10 gifties, and Meyer Alert King with 300 bits. Let me thank the gifters. We have GT Buzzsaw, Slurgo, Alcaray, Forest X. Thank you for the 6 months at tier 1. Appreciate you. Anti-Corporatist, Desperate Luck, thank you for the 10 tier 1s. Atlantic Tuna, Constant Reader, The Noob Tamer, Ben Shen, Daffy Taffy, Entropy Kid, thank you so much. Weasley Little Liar, I appreciate all of you. XBC Noob, thank you for the 5-tier ones. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. Little Bolsheviks, thank you for the 5-tier ones. I appreciate you. Golgo Wolfer, thank you for the gift. All right, let's keep going.
The 2025 election was a warning from voters. If Republicans don't adapt, the GOP is sure to lose its House majority, and the Senate could be in play, too. The editors of the National Review echo that sentiment in a new piece entitled A Big Democratic Night. It reads in part, President Trump attributed the tough night in part to his not being on the ballot. That clearly an element of the problem. Other Republicans can't turn out his voters the way he can.
Thank you for the
but
prime.
Trump left out the other part of the equation, which is that the unrelenting Democratic message linking every Republican
Mortal Night
on
Wolf,
the
tier
ballot
2.
to him clearly worked. And the vote share of Winsome Earl Sears and Jack Ciattarelli about matched Trump's low 40s approval ratings in their states. All things being equal, these are bad signs for next year's congressional midterms. No amount of gerrymandering
Mike, why is
will be able
PSL
to
not an ML party? Because it's not vanguardist.
stand this kind of Democratic surge if it materializes.
Do they have Democratic centralism? I'm not sure. I'd have to go and look. I'm not sure about that.
Again in a year's time. And Steve Ratner, I mean.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. They do. Well, that's pretty good, though. What does that mean? It is the best way to organize, is what it means. I'm a big fan of PSL, chat. I am a big fan. I support them. I think they're great.
In a way, is it fair to say people were really feeling the effect of some of the things that has come out of this Trump administration, or they're about to, and they know it's coming, whether it's healthcare prices rising, affordability, housing, groceries, everything is worse. And they know Republicans are in power. There's a shutdown. Trump repeatedly over the past decades has said, if there's a shutdown, it's the president's fault. I don't know how they can separate the reality that people are feeling right now to the president who's in charge.
No, that's exactly right, Mika. And so the election was about affordability, and with good reason. It is a much tougher time for most Americans. And I'm going to talk a bit more about this later. We have this kind of K-shaped recovery where people at the top are doing well, people at the bottom are not doing well.
And there's no jobs.
And the job market has weakened.
Look at Tom. Thank you for the 20.
You know, Trump likes to create this alternate reality that isn't reality. And so on 60 Minutes, when he was asked about inflation, he said there is no inflation. Well, there's 3% inflation, and people know that. And in fact, people feel even more inflation because some of the things they buy a lot of, certain kinds of groceries, things like that, have gone up by more than the average amount of inflation. Yeah. And so it's a huge problem. And what's also interesting is that the Republicans have no real solution to it. If you look at their policies, they essentially make it worse, not better, in terms of the tax cuts for the rich and cutting the health care subsidies and so on and so forth. So I don't see how it gets better for the Republicans a year from now.
And Joe, this we haven't even mentioned the impact. I think that's almost becoming something many people can agree on both sides, right? Maybe not all, of the ICE raids.
Yeah, listen, I have noticed over the past week or so.
Did you see Mizkif is suing Asman and Emiru? Yeah, I did. We'll eventually talk about it, but not now. Not important enough.
The Pope, the American Pope, speaking out repeatedly about the.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the Pope, but he was yelling about he was chastising Republicans. I think he referenced Mark.
Meanwhile, Chicago-born Pope Leo is now reacting to news that federal agents refused to allow faith leaders inside that Broadview facility to give people Holy Communion. So a delegation of clergy says they were at the facility over the weekend for the Catholic Feast of All Saints. With reporters outside his home in Rome yesterday, the Pope reacted, saying that spiritual rights should be respected.
When you be asked, how did you receive the foreigner? Did you receive him and welcome him or not? And I think that there's a deep reflection that needs to be made in terms of what's happening. Many people who've lived for years and years and years, never causing problems, have been deeply affected by what's going on right now.
Pope Leo has been openly critical of the federal government's treatment of immigrants and even made a plea for the world to help protect them.
They're getting all all the fake Catholics, you know, they love hierarchy except for the part where they actually have to listen to the hierarchy.
Importance of Catholics, if they are good Catholics,
yes,
to go out and to welcome the foreigner. You know, citing the Good Samaritan verses
Thank you,
in
calling
Luke.
a time for the 20.
Jesus is explaining who your neighbor is. The
Tradcaths don't think that's the true Pope anyway. Then they're not a Tradcath. A Tradcath would not. That's just heresy. If you're like, I know better than the Pope, then you're literally not Catholic. That's the whole point of Catholicism, is that the Pope knows shit. That's the whole point of it. The whole point is Saint Peter, the apostle, founded the Roman Catholic Church because Jesus Christ said that he was going to be the cornerstone, and there has been apostolic succession from Jesus to Peter all the way to the current day. And so God says that the line of Peter has inerrant biblical interpretations. That's the whole point of being Catholic. If you're saying, oh no, the Pope is wrong, then you're a fucking heretic. You're literally not Catholic. That's the whole point of it.
Says we will be judged by how we welcome foreigners. And you have now the archbishops in Chicago and Washington, across the country, delivering powerful messages. The Pope even at one point suggesting it's hard to call yourself pro-life if you
They're
support.
infallible. Yes, that's true, Super Cheetah. I'm pretty sure, you know, ministering to immigrants is so foundational to Catholic teaching, because Catholic teaching is not, it believes in evangelization to all nations. They don't believe that one nation is exalted over the other. So they're not, they don't support denying Catholics communion in camps.
Such horrific treatment of those who are alive, our neighbors, as Jesus would say, our neighbors, the foreigner. That's what Jesus said. So if you have a problem with that, don't even take it up with the Pope. If you're claiming to be a Christian, take it up with Jesus.
I mean, it's not even Jesus. This is like Jewish teaching. It's old shit. Like, it comes from, I think there's a pro-immigrant fucking passage in Genesis, if I remember correctly. I know there is an Ezekiel. I know that there is all over Leviticus. Like, it's literally Jewish teaching. It's not even like Jesus.
Because that's what he says. And so, yes, this is, as we see the church get more and more involved in the protecting of the dignity of human beings, of God's children, you are going to see this become a more difficult political issue, yes, even for Republicans who've turned a blind eye to everything that Jesus said.
I mean, this is like
in the New Testament about welcoming foreigners. Being kind to the least among us. It's just again, this is something the Pope has started talking about, something he's not going to stop talking about. And Chris Matthews, that's going to be very powerful. I'm going to say also, this election, I mean, every time Trump, I was talking about Trump. Let's just take Donald Trump out of this. If this were you and me talking in 1995, 96, if we were talking in 2005, 2006, if we were talking in 2015, 2016, or now, and I told you, Chris, here are the numbers. You tell me whether the party in power or out of power is going to win. You have a right track, wrong track, where only a third of Americans think we're on the right track. Almost 2/3 of Americans say this country is on the wrong track. We have a president with record high disapprovals for him, sitting at 63%, according to the latest.
Like, one of the most core teachings of St. Peter, who is the core, like, I'm bringing up Bible verses because I want you to understand how conservatives believe in fucking nothing and they're all vile pieces of shit, okay? One of the core teachings of Catholic theology comes from Peter, where he says, so Peter opened his mouth and said, truly I understand that God shows no partiality, but in every nation, anyone who fears him and does what is right is acceptable for him. Not to all the people, but to us who had been chosen by God as witnesses, who ate and drank with him after he rose from the dead. And he commanded us to preach to the people and to testify that he is the one anointed by God, appointed by God to be judge of living and the dead. To him, all the prophets bear witness that everyone who believes in him receives forgiveness of sins throughout his name. While Peter was saying these things, the Holy Spirit fell on all who heard the word. And the believers from among the circumcised who had come with Peter were amazed because the gift of the Holy Spirit was poured out even on the Gentiles. The point is, like, this is what makes someone Catholic, basically. That's the entire point of it. Like, conservatives are funny, man. They're fucking funny, dude.
CNN poll, and the government's in one of its longest shutdowns ever. It's going to take, the Congressional Budget Office says, maybe 1% off of our GDP this coming quarter. It's really hard to figure out whether the president is Reagan, Clinton, Obama, or Trump. Who's going to win that election and who's not?
Look, this affordability argument it's a new term, by the way. It's not called inflation. It's called affordability. It's about being able to get by. It's about having a young family in many cases and trying to find a place to live. And I look at what Trump has been doing. If you look at his policy, and Steve can register this, but GDP, the big spending bill, the big beautiful bill, rose the amount of pressure on prices. And we're going to have more pressure down the road. With his tariffs, he's still pushing for them. The courts may be fighting him, but he's still pushing for higher tariffs, which means more taxes. And
how is Chris Matthews back? How is he back? He said after Bernie Sanders won, he said that we were going to be executions in Central Park.
Chris Matthews, and, you know, seems to be sincere in his concern here. But I think it's a little bit much.
I have my own views of the word socialist, and I'll be glad to share them with you in private. And they go back to the early 1950s. I have an attitude about them. I remember the Cold War. I have an attitude towards Castro. I believe if Castro and the Reds had won the Cold War, there would have been executions in Central Park, and I might have been one of the ones getting executed. And certain other people would be there cheering, okay? So I have a problem with people who took the other side. I don't know who Bernie supports over these years. I don't know what he means by social. 1 week it's Denmark. We're going to be like Denmark. Okay, that's harmless. That's basically a capitalist country with a lot of good social welfare programs. Denmark is harmless.
He's pretty clearly in the Denmark category, yeah.
Are you sure? How do you know? Did he tell you that?
Well, I mean, that's what he says, and that's what his agenda calls for, right?
Yeah.
He's not calling for any...
Let's see. Let's figure that one out.
But we haven't seen a campaign yet where video of him praising the other version, which is Castro, has been used. Well, but it will be used.
That's a question
of how that plays out.
Of how what the effect that has.
Well, what does he think of Castro? That's a great question. What did you think of Fidelismo? We all thought he was great when he first. I thought he was cheering like mad for him when he first went in, and then he became a communist and started shooting every one of his enemies.
Okay, hold those thoughts on the Cuban Revolution. I have to go back to the spin room and Democratic presidential candidate.
Okay, so.
He still wants to weaken the Fed. He wants to get lower interest rates. Everything he's doing is causing inflation. Everything he's doing is driving up the affordability challenge to incumbents. And that's going to hurt every incumbent. And so if he's going to play defense in 26 and 28, he's got a problem.
Yeah, and you know, Willie, there's a disconnect from political reality. We talked about it with Joe Biden, where, you know, Nancy Pelosi had to go in and say, no, your polls aren't what you say they are. Donald Trump, of course, is going around saying, I have the best polls ever. You can find 4, 5, 6 poll services out over the past week or two that say just the opposite. But that's really harmless. All
right, chat. I have to interrupt the stream because Hassan is with the greatest of all time, my queen, Summer Lee.
Mixed with cloudy. Right. I'm very lucky that I met DC before all of this. Like I got family from the area. Yeah, I got family from the area. Okay. I went to law school here actually. We're going this way. That's why we wore this.
Okay.
So we are in one of the office buildings now. Mm-hmm. How you doing? They're with me. Some of them. I don't know this whole one.
So they don't have to go through metal detectors.
Yeah, I don't know him.
They don't have to go through metal detectors because they're with a rep. So they just walked around all the metal detectors because they're with her.
Don't do that. No, I'm joking.
Damn, you really get him.
No, I'm joking. But yeah, no, we're over here. So listen, this is Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill, not DC, but this is actually it's kind of bustling. I'm a little bit shocked.
Yeah.
So like we're just oh my god, that is so. Listen, when you talk about staffs, this is my staff, and I like my staff very much. The staff over here that said, "Oh my god," when you walked in, is my roommate staff.
Oh, okay.
So I like them very much too. But listen, this is the cafeteria. Obviously, we are in like 6 weeks of a shutdown.
Yeah.
So I was not quite sure how. Like,
I'm surprised they're still feeding the staffers. They should be. I thought they would have cut down on their feed
the
too.
Staff is feeding them. The staff are feeding themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're paying for this.
Yeah.
They're paying for this food. Like it's a cafeteria, but you got to pay for this food.
Yeah.
So we have a couple cafeterias. So it's like you have this one over here in this building. All the buildings have a little bit of something. And then the Capitol.
Hasn't she seen the content, Nuke? Nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, this is where everybody comes. My
Cool.
team, y'all eat down here, right?
So, before we move around, is the audio good? Okay. Why don't you introduce yourself as well one more time so we do it the right way?
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Summer Lee. I represent Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania in Congress, so this is my second term. So I know my way around here a little bit, but not enough that I have enveloped the air of evil. But I'm a congresswoman and I'm excited to show you all around.
We got friends. We got friends
We
in
have
DC.
some. I'm a progressive, actual, real life.
Yes.
Progressive, not the fake ones.
Yes.
So there are some of us here.
She is. She's dope. For those of you who don't know. But they know already. They know.
And if you don't, now you know.
And they're about to find out. All right, so
Chad,
what do you...
listen. As much as I want to keep going, I just want to watch this because I'm fangirling. So I'm gonna just send you all. I'm sending you all over. Congresswoman Summer Lee, Democratic Socialist, representing Pittsburgh. Our next senator, hopefully one day. Thank you guys for all the support. And I'm coming with. I'm so happy that she's getting the attention she deserves. Hey Jinx, like I've been trying to get her more attention so much. So I'm so excited that Hassan is finally hanging out with her. I'm super pumped about that. So, all right, everybody, stay safe out there. Solidarity forever. She is one of the best. I think she is, in my opinion, she's the best congresswoman. So hang out with her. Stay safe out there, everybody. See you tomorrow. Thank you for all the support. Free Palestine. And we're going to keep celebrating our wins and looking for the next one. All right, everybody. Peace out. See you soon.